Can you believe traditional modeling will finally be replaced by Tripo? The level of detail far exceeds your imagination.
Annoyed by shaky videos? Fix it. Big PAI Video Enhancer. Low light videos looking bad. Fix it. A Big PAI Video Enhancer. Try it now.
$11 million? Okay, I'm ready.
Payouts, take one.
I should confess something. I'm not actually a real person. But the voice actor who created me, they get paid whenever someone uses this voice. And so far, 11 Labs have paid out over $11 million right back to their creators.
So, why are you still here? Sign up today.
Whenever I use taxis or public transportation to get to EWC, I always end up late. So I'm taking matters into my own hands. Borrowed it from my producer. He's doing pretty well. Oh, bonjour. I think I'm too tall. Ugh. Okay, that's terrifying. Now it says Def System Control Motor Serandra Letelier.
It's normal.
Does that mean that the car is on fire?
No, it's normal.
Okay, where's the Prindle?
What?
Okay, so here there's like different buttons. There's sport.
The different mode.
Different modes.
Sport. And CT off and CST off.
Okay, but where's eSport?
eSport? No, it's just sport. It's not possible actually. Sorry.
You can't have eSport mode?
No.
So now what do I do?
You can upshift.
Upshift?
In one gear.
What's this button?
One gear. It's good? No.
Why is there dual wielding horns? Look, there's a horn here and there's a horn here, so I can...
It's good.
What if I press it both at the same time?
Okay, let's go. Corner difficult.
Corner is difficult? No, I got corners. Watch this. All right, now, when you're on this track, what's important to remember?
Eyes up.
Eyes up. If I want to check my phone really quick.
No.
No, I can't? No? Oh, okay. All right.
Eyes up.
My eyes are up. Where else would they be, sir? Okay.
More gas.
All right, I'm gassing it.
You are too slow. Stop here.
I feel like I'm doing a good job.
Yes, but let me drive.
Okay. I don't think I was driving that slow. Yeah, I feel like I went pretty fast. I don't know if you can go much faster! Oh my god! I thought I was Tokyo Drift, brother! Holy crap! Wait, there's a barrier. Are we gonna stop at the barrier? Oh my god! I should have listened to all my middle school teachers and high school teachers and college teachers. Playing video games your entire life is only gonna put you in life or death situations. You should not have a driver's license. None of this is okay.
Welcome to the Esports World Cup 2026. 16 of the world's best teams have gathered here in Paris to earn their right to be crowned the next CROSSFIRE champion. But before that, here's how the tournament works. The tournament starts with the group stage, where the 16 teams are split into 2 groups and also seeded according to their qualifications. Here's how the teams have been seeded. The teams will go through a double elimination bracket consisting of best-of-3 matches, and only the top 4 teams from each group will advance to the next stage, the playoffs. The playoffs will consist of teams who have qualified from the upper bracket of the group stage and will be seeded at random. The top 2 seeded teams can then select their opponents from the pool of lower bracket qualifiers of the other group, while the other 2 upper bracket teams are matched up with the remaining 2 lower bracket teams, also from the other group. The playoffs will be a brutal single elimination bracket with best-of-3 matches for the quarterfinals and best-of-5 matches for the semifinals, third-place match, and of course, the grand final. Time to witness greatness, upsets, and everything in between, right here at EWC 2026.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Esports World Cup in Paris, France. It's week 7, but day 2 of CROSSFIRE. Yesterday was exciting, gave us some upsets. Today could be just as interesting. Hey, welcome in, everybody, to the Allianz Vault. I'm Taylor Reflection Snowball, joined by Sneaky Frog and Lucy. Good to see you, too. It's day 2 of CROSSFIRE. Sneaky, how you feeling?
Dude, absolutely stoked, not gonna lie, after what happened in yesterday's games. And, you know, obviously, we already saw the upset from Team Vitality from yesterday, and I'm really looking forward to if there's going to be any other upsets going on, because we already had some spicy wins last year, and hopefully we see the same this year.
Absolutely, and they're playing for a lot of money. We're talking $2 million on the line.
Yeah, biggest prize pool in CROSSFIRE, right? Not to mention the Club Championship. Like, there's a lot at stake here for these teams, and obviously the glory of lifting that trophy.
That's right, the glory indeed. $750,000 for first. That is insanity, but in all the best ways. CROSSFIRE, an incredible game here at Esports World Cup. $2 million up for grabs. Come on, does it get any better? Especially with upsets, but it's only day 2. We have plenty of days of competition left, but day 1, like we said, was incredibly exciting, and to get you caught up to speed, we've got Kyle and Laz.
We had a lot of action in day 1, but what was the most impactful match you think in your mind from day number 1?
Man, I gotta say, it was the last match of the day, which was yesterday, of course, which was the Vitality game. That was a 2-1 nail-biter. Vitality were getting themselves really close on the first map, almost letting it slip, but they got the job done. But man, that was a nail-biter of a game, and good revenge for them from last year's results.
Yeah, for me, I think the big standout on the day was Rock Esports, though that win was a little bit dicey in their matchup. I feel like Nemesis really gave them a good run for their money, pulling off a map 10-1 in that best-of-3 series. We'll see them again later today, but for Rock Esports, they've got a lot left to prove.
Yeah, definitely, and I think the other shocker as well is, I mean, let's not forget that Falcons, they actually got, eliminated with a 2-0 yesterday. Like, we thought that the game was going to be a 3-mapper. That one went all the way, like, with a 2-0 where Na'Vi were able to sweep them. So to be honest, that was also kind of the secondary big shocker to me, because I thought like Falcons had that one in the day, but seems like it wasn't going to be the result.
Yeah, Na'Vi, really impressive stuff. I think people are excited to see Wanwan take the stage today, see if Na'Vi can get the crowd behind them and keep things rolling going into this day 2 action.
Yeah, well, I mean, look, it was a really good day 1 that we got yesterday. There was a lot of emotions, a lot of jitters, but day 1 is done. Now we move on to day 2, so we're going to get the matches underway, so we'll see you in a little bit at the studio.
Thank you, Kyle and Laz. Great breakdown. Yeah, day 1 was sensational. Again, Vitality taking down EP, their boogeyman, was the biggest upset by far. But can they take down AGAL today? That's the question on everyone's minds. Kyle believes it can happen, but will it? We're going to have to find out together. We've had a great day of competition, though. As we head into day 2, we need to get everybody caught up to speed with what the brackets are looking like, starting with Group A. Now, Group A has been highly competitive. Our opening matches were sensational for sure. Team Stallions taking down GK Esports. They moved on. Team Liquid, Execration. Now, that was a 2-0, but not a dominant 2-0. That was actually highly competitive.
Yeah, and especially in that Black Widow game, it actually was almost neck and neck with this Execration team, but unfortunately, Y kind of caught fire in map number 2 of Porte, and Execration just kind of crumbled in that one, and especially knowing that the rookies on the side of Execration didn't perform too well in that second map, that could just be inexperience on their part.
And look at the consequences for the bracket, right? With Team Vitality beating Evolution Power Gaming, it's now got it. We've got two Chinese teams playing for elimination.
That's right, Q9, Evolution Power Gaming. Keys will be crushed today, 4 in fact. That was just 2 of them. Let's take a look at the other 2 keys that might be crushed for Group B bracket, which is, again, equally as competitive. We're going to be watching both groups today, not only here on Stream A, but also over on Stream B. Now, Baisha moved forward. We haven't actually seen them play, but we'll get an opportunity today against King Zero Esports. That's going to be our first matchup. Na'Vi Rock, though, a fun one that could be incredibly close.
Yeah, I would say it's almost at the caliber of the finals back in the CFPL, right? If it wasn't for, if you kind of replace Na'Vi with Team Liquid. But at the moment, in my opinion, I feel like Na'Vi is kind of the best of all the forms at the moment. I mean, they beat the first seed of Vietnam. We were expecting Falcons to do better, but they might be the team to beat in this group.
Yeah, Nemesis made our Rock really work for it too, right? Like, that wasn't an easy series, and I think the saddest part of that bracket is just how it's looking for Vietnam at the moment.
That is the question. How is Vietnam looking? We got a lot of regions represented. After all, it is, in fact, the Esports World Cup. We wouldn't have it any other way. But just to recap, 4 keys are crushed today, but more importantly, 4 teams are moving forward if they just win one more series in the upper bracket. A lot on the line for sure. You want to move forward. You don't want to have your key crushed, but that's the reality of EWC. Now, the question on everybody's mind is, who is going to qualify today? What 4 teams will be moving forward? Well, hopefully these 2 guys have all the answers. It's Kyle and Valdez.
Hey guys, we're here and we're going to talk about our expectations for who we think is going to qualify for CROSSFIRE today. So I'm here with Kyle, the expert for CROSSFIRE, and the first matchup is going to be Stallions versus Team Liquid. Thoughts on this one?
Honestly, Team Liquid looked really good in their opener, but Stallions, to me, have to be one of the fan favorites of this event, so I'd say my money's on Stallions today.
I absolutely agree. I think Stallions could go very far in this tournament, and I think they should take that first match. We are going to move on to our second one, which will be Baisha versus King Zero. What do you think, Kyle?
Baisha 2-0 all day in this one. I feel like Baisha is one of the powerhouse teams for this event, and I'm expecting a lot from them on the stage today.
Yeah, I think Baisha has a long way to go. King Zero, though, we'll see if they get an upset in this best of 3. So moving on to the third one, and this one is spicy. Vitality has made it, and they will go up against AGAL today. What do you think about this one, Kyle?
Honestly, this might be a bit of a hot take, but I'm going to go all in on Vitality. To me, they looked so good with that upset against EP in day 1, and I believe in Vitality for day 2.
That is a very hot take, a very spicy one. I'm going to go for AGAL. I think that they are the tournament favorites, and even though Vitality looked great, I think AGAL is on another level. But we'll see, because we've seen underdogs win before. And our final match will be Na'Vi up against Rock, which is pretty interesting. 2 Brazilian teams going head-to-head. What do you think, Kyle?
Honestly, speaking of underdogs, Na'Vi, they may be the underdog rank-wise in their region, but I actually think Na'Vi might be able to take this one. Rock looking really shaky yesterday, losing a map against Nemesis in that series, but Na'Vi, they look top-notch right now.
Yeah, I think that's definitely a good take. I'm just going to go for the safe one and go for Rock. I think that MG and Silva, they always start off a little bit slow, and I'll expect more from them as the tournament comes along. But we'll have to wait and see. Guys, let's go back to the desk now as we are done here for our expectations. Take it away.
Thank you, Kyle Valdez. Lucy, Kyle is smiling more than I've ever seen him smile before because he's going all in on Vitality.
You know what? I'm right there with him. They were so fun to watch yesterday. How could you not love the energy that was coming out? I love Snake's words after about people doubting them. But
yeah.
I don't think they're going to be underestimated now.
I don't think so. How could you, after all, beating a Chinese team from the Western region? That is a big deal. Hasn't been done since 2018. What do you think about the rest of their conversation? Are you with them?
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty convinced that Team Vitality can actually make a deep run into this tournament. I was having doubts about the level of play, considering how bad the West League is at the moment. I mean, bad is a kind of a harsh word, but, second seed going down, the level is kind of questionable, but, going into the tournament, they really prove to everyone that, hey, we can also play at that international level. And of course, you also have one of the greatest coaches that West League's probably ever seen in the name of Stray. I feel like he's really keeping them at a very high level in this one.
And hey, look, I don't think the West League is bad. They just make everyone else look bad. They won, 20-1 was their record, I think. It's absolutely absurd last season. So they're just that good.
That good indeed. And how are you good? Are you guys good? Let's take a look, because tournament pick'ems are in, and I don't know where it's going. Apparently, we needed to be surprised. Hey, yo!
They're with us. They're with us.
What? Vitality. Now, by the way, this is to win the tournament, okay? To win the tournament, 54% of you at home says Vitality is taking it all. They're winning $750,000, taking down AGAL, who won last year, is looking to go back-to-back, as well as CFS 2025 Grand Final champions from Chengdu. That's insanity. But AGL still got 24%.
Well, also, shout out to the 7% of Falcons fans.
That's
I think
right.
they can do the deep run from the elimination game on day 2. I like the faith.
That's crazy. Baisha, they're in number 3rd. They'll be playing today. Falcons, by the way, they just got to survive before they can thrive, okay? They're currently in the lower bracket. Despite reworking their roster, they are still struggling. So if you're supporting Falcons, you better send them your energy today, because they need to fly high before their wings are clipped. B-Stream, though, is going to be happening all day long. They've got 4 great matches, just like we do on Stream A. And to catch you up to speed, we got Scriv as well as Penguin.
Hello everybody, checking in with the B stream here. Of course, we've got some great games coming up today. I think going to give the mainstream a real run for their money in terms of the excitement. We've got some fantastic matchups, kicking things off with Team Stallions up against Liquid. Honestly, the marquee matchup for me, so excited to kick that off with the first game. Really looking forward to seeing what Stallions in particular can do after yesterday.
I mean, it's time for Brazilians to revenge from Stallions, and then we're going into the Brazilians rivals, Navi versus Rocky Sports. These guys, they meet again, but this time on the international stage.
Yeah, really looking forward to the Brazilians showing us what they've got.
Yes.
Then we have GK coming up against Execration. Execration a little disappointing yesterday, maybe. We wanted some more out from them, but should be an interesting match. 2 of the slightly weaker teams from yesterday should give us a good game.
What about Anubis, the first show? Yes, they missed the first game, but now they're going to be here on the stage, and we're going to be seeing them versus the Vicious.
Yeah, so excited to get into it. We've got some great games coming up. 4 games of CROSSFIRE is an awful lot to sink your teeth into. We'll see you there. Back to the desk.
Thank you, Scriv and Penguin. They're going to be holding it down over on B Stream. Apparently the best stream. I'll give it to you. Hey, we're all a team here after all. Stream A and B, make sure you have both of the streams pulled up any way that you possibly can. We got 8 great series happening today, including 4 keys crushed, 4 teams moving forward. What do we think about the matches over on B Stream? Which one tickles your fancy the most?
Not gonna lie, I feel like that last series is actually something I'm looking forward to, especially knowing that there's a lot of late arrivals in that last one. Obviously, we already saw the Vicious's coach actually arrived late, just right after they lost in their first series, and at the same time, you already know the story about Anubis. So we're gonna finally get to see what the true level of these 2 teams actually look like.
Yeah, and I think Anubis just coming into this event, obviously massive underdog, but I think their story in West League was really interesting, just about scraping through, but with the changes in that team, anyway, it's going to be fun to see how they play in the server.
Yeah, going to be fun indeed. That's over on Stream B. Stream A, though, we'll show you the schedule in just a second. Before we do, we need to talk Club Championship, because it's the final week, and the storylines have been developing quite well, especially when it comes to Falcons versus AGAL. Trav, what's the update? Give me the Club Championship update, powered by Aramco.
3 more games start at the Esports World Cup today, and it's looking likely that Team Falcons will be the team to take the crown of the Club Championship. They've got 4 teams competing across all games this week, and they're looking the likely favourites in both Trackmania and Fortnite, which positions them to win it all. AGL, on the other hand, are looking the likely favourites to take it in CROSSFIRE. This would give them 1,000 points heading into that last day and put them on top and put the pressure on Team Falcons to perform in CS2. Vitality and Na'Vi still have a chance of winning, but it's so slim, I believe about 0.2 and 0.3% chance each. Looking at the other 2 teams who have still got a chance of winning, though, it's Team Falcons with a massive 75% chance of taking it all, considering they're in all 4 games and have a 300-point lead on AGL. AGL still looking at about a 24% chance, so well within their rights to take the crown and take the Club Championship home. We'll keep you updated as things keep going this week, so stay tuned.
Thank you, Trav, as always, for the update. First time I've heard you give percentages. That's pretty awesome. He did the math. I'm glad it wasn't me. Chat giving 23% over to AGL. That's still insane and absolutely mind-blowing to me. But let's talk about today's schedule because it's going to be action-packed. We saw Bs. Let's now talk As. Starting off, we're going to have Baisha going against King Zero. That's where we start. That's going to be an incredible one. We'll be breaking that down in just a second. But Vitality taking on AGL a little bit later on. And then we have, of course, Evolution Power Gaming taking on Q9 and Falcons versus Nemesis. So for that other one, it's not Vicious. It's actually, in fact, going to be Vitality taking on AGL. Let's start there. Right? We've talked about it a lot. Vitality has looked incredibly strong, but can they really? I know Kyle believes it, but can they really beat AGL?
I think it really is heavily dependent upon their form on that day, right? I feel like I wouldn't say they overperformed up against Evolution Power. I feel like they played at the, the level that we expected them to be. Obviously, Evolution Power is also having their struggles with leadership on the team. So, Vitality being a lot more stable going into the tournament is going to be, quite the challenge here for AG, because AG has also had their fair share of struggles as well in their own league. So if there's any shot for Vitality to go for a generational run, beating 2 Chinese teams just to get into playoffs, I feel like this might be it.
And to piggyback off of 2 Chinese teams, you mentioned out, pointed out right in the lower bracket, one of them is going to be sent home and have their key crush, EP versus Q9.
Yeah, it's crazy, right? Because when you looked at that bracket probably on day one, you're thinking, okay, yeah, Evolution Power, Q9, probably 3rd, 4th place in that group, right? But now one of them's going out in last place, which is a crazy situation. We get 2 Chinese teams at least progressing, or at least one progressing, because they've got 2 battling for that spot. But it's a really unusual situation, and I think some of the Western teams are probably very happy that are not in that same fate.
That's right. Well, Western teams are happy in general because they sent one of those Chinese teams down to the decider matches. Let's move into our PS5 story of the day, and this is a fun one that we need to unwrap. It's about our first matchup of the day, Baisha versus King Zero. And as you can see, Baisha is leading the charge with the OG.
Of course, in my opinion, the greatest CROSSFIRE player of all time in the name of N9, right? And they have been having their up and downs in their league as well. They had their struggles on season 27, but as soon as season 28 came around for CFPL, they really locked in heavy and just absolutely rolled over everybody. Granted, there's still some doubts about their head-to-head up against AG, but going into KZ as well, I mean, you're going up against the guy that you've been looking up to all these years, man. This is going to be insane.
That's right. King Zero, they arrived to the venue confident as ever, but they know the task ahead of them, Lucy. They know they got to try and take down Baisha, and if they do, they're rewarded with the next stage.
Yeah, I mean, it's the team that they lost to in the CFPL finals for season 28, right? It was a 3-1. So, yeah, it's a bit of revenge on the line. These 2 teams obviously know each other very well across the season. Bit of a 50-50 between the 2 in the head-to-head as well. But in the big games, that's where Baisha, they always step up and get over the line. And obviously we saw, N9, but we've got to talk about the youngster 2, Ice.
That's right, and that's a great transition. The legend versus the young up-and-comer who's being compared to N9. It's Ice on King Zero, N9 for Baisha.
Yeah, and obviously being compared to N9 has got to be one of the greatest honors, right? If you are a Chinese player, and considering, N9, one of the most decorated players, one of the most aggressive players to actually come out of China, and you also see the next generation finally coming out, and you just see Ice bust into the scene and get all the way up to 2nd in his first split, which is absolutely insane. So I feel like, last EWC, we already saw the super rookies, obviously, in the name of Stallions. Maybe now it's time to put the spotlight on Ice.
That's it, but also not only Ice, but also Tong and Xiao on the opposite side. We were really impressed with Tong yesterday.
Yeah, I think Tong had a fantastic map 1 in particular. I think if I look at my numbers, he had like 21 kills,
That's
9 deaths, like absolutely absurd. On sub base, that fantastic 1v2 clutch. And I think he's just been so cool in those closing moments, right? Like, it feels like they can always rely on him to get the rounds over the line.
All right, well, get over the line. Let's see what the line is. Where does EWC play draw it in the sand? Who you guys going with, mind you? I'm kind of curious because at the end of the day, you guys have kind of been up in the air. Wrong, right? Are you going to be right with this when it comes to your overall predictions? Will it be Baisha? Will it be King Zero? That's my biggest question. For me, I like the story of Baisha, and so do they. 86% going Baisha Gaming to the 14 of King Zero Esports. But regardless, though, it is a 50-50. I think that's a fair assessment. This is a matchup of 2 Titans. They once again will clash. But for Baisha, they haven't lifted an international trophy since the past 3 years, right? At one point, they were considered the most dominant force when it comes to CROSSFIRE until AGAL took over. Baisha is still trying to return to true form.
Oh, for sure, especially after the roster changes that they had to go through, you know, Baby being gone from the team now, and the changes in leadership. And, you know, Baisha was kind of experimenting on Essen. There's also the other players that they also tried, but they finally landed a roster that you could say that, okay, finally, this is a trophy-winning roster that we can go for.
Yeah, and for N9, he wants to put this to his name as well, right? He's won everything before, right? One of the best to ever do it.
That's
Doesn't
right.
have an EWC to his name.
All right, let's take a look at our vetoes. What maps are we going to be heading into? Sub-base out of the way. Baisha says, I don't want it. New compound also gone. King Zero says that's not it. But what do we get for map number 1? We're heading to Black Widow.
Yeah, that makes sense. Obviously, Baisha is one of the best Black Widow teams to come out of China, and at the same time, there is some tangible international results for them as well. So, yeah, really great pickup here for the side of Baisha.
What do we think about Ankara?
Yeah, it's been coming through quite a bit in the vetoes for these two teams. I mean, they're so familiar with each other. They're always going to go into very familiar territory. I think the only upset that could have come through was if sub-base was allowed. But Ankara, that's been quite strong when it comes to KZ here. And okay, we get Eagle Eye's the decider.
Okay, Eagle Eye 2.0. I wasn't really thinking Eagle Eye because when you say Baisha or KZ, the first thing that doesn't come into your mind is definitely Eagle Eye. So it's going to be interesting to see whether or not that they are heavily prepared, especially knowing the prevalence of Eagle Eye 2.0 in EWC and some of the other regions as well. So we're going to get a preview of what the Chinese playstyle of Eagle Eye looks like once again.
It's going to be a fun one. 3 great maps. Does it go the distance? Well, it's up to King Zero and Baisha to decide. Let's head into our first series for day number 2.
Team Liquid, we haven't met each other yet, and we're looking forward to face you.
Eu espero que a Team Stallions estejam preparados. A equipe da Rock é uma equipe muito forte, tem grandes jogadores experientes, mas acredito que se enfrentar a equipe da Nave em um torneio internacional, eles vão acabar sendo eliminados.
Anubis là một bí ẩn nhưng mà chúng tôi sẽ cố gắng hết sức.
SCTN thì đã trên với bọn em rất là nhiều và có lúc bọn em thắng, có lúc bọn em thua. Nhưng mà đến với EWC năm nay thì bọn em có thể nghĩ là bọn em có thể giành chiến thắng.
It is time to kick off day 2 of Esports World Cup for CROSSFIRE. A couple matches yesterday, but today is all about the important games. We qualified to playoff and a couple teams eliminated.
Yes, but of course, the teams that we have behind us, as we heard Taylor bring up earlier, this is legitimately, ladies and gentlemen, a clash of titans. This is a rematch from CFPL Season 28, where Baisha was able to take it all the way. But in winners finals, King Zero did beat them. So even though Baisha is favored, they have shown that everyone believes.
There is beef, there is result, and there is a revenge to get on this one. Of course, Baisha as well was the runner-up last year, so all they want is to grab this trophy at the end of the weekend. It's not going to be an easy task, but it's time to establish yourself as one of the favorites.
$2 million, by the way, ladies and gentlemen. On this stage right here, that's what all of these players are fighting for. And, of course, the glory as they hope to put their key into this trophy, lifting it up while they etch their names into history here at the Esports World Cup. That said, ladies and gentlemen, it is not going to be easy, but it is time for our first playoff qualifying match. It is Baisha Gaming versus King Zero.
A domestic rivalry here on the international stage at EWC, and a Black Widow, one in which Baisha always comes prepared and always gets the victory over King Zero.
Yeah, I mean, ironically, obviously a fantastic map that Baisha do have a really good record against them on, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to get that job done today. We'll have to find out how both these teams do come in on the stage. Yet another matchup here between Baisha and King Zero. It'll be another explosive one, I imagine, and straight out the gates, Ice with that 1-for-1. There's the battle over long as 577 and N9 lock it down for Baisha. I think there's a lot that we could talk about when it does come to this matchup, but once again, we just don't have the time to do it as these rounds are kicking off very quickly.
XN potentially could be getting the best of N9, and in fact will dink him, but can't get the best of him. Of course, N9 finds that frag, and now you're just up to Tong. Last lone in towards mid. Bomb site already being secured on that left-hand side. You can just escort the bomb over very quickly. There's going to be limited mistakes here in this series compared to yesterday.
Yeah, you would think so. Plant's going to go down over towards Beatong at this point, just hoping that he's going to be able to find a pick on that way through, but there is nothing really being given to him. So just has to bide his time for now. See what info is going to form his rotation. Leah here is watching for it and has already spotted him out, so happy to just back it up. And again, like you say, this is going to be less mistakes than what we saw yesterday. These are the top teams in the bracket. These are the two teams that are working their way towards those playoffs, and so they are going to be putting together some much better rounds, you would think, with YDSS as well, by the way, on that flank. This is looking pretty doomed for Tong as he tries to work his way into that B site. Does get a nice shot in onto YDSS, but even had he got a second in there, there was no time for that defuse, so a well-converted round. A bit anticlimactic, obviously, for the first round there for Baisha, but getting one on the board is a good start.
Hey, at least they've been everywhere in that round. They push out long, they get the kills, they then reset the situation, go back in towards B. Good trade in as well, just in this after plant, just making it really difficult for especially a sniper to find any sort of success.
Back in for round number 2. And these teams are going to know each other's tendencies very well, particularly on a map like Black Widow, which they play often. They had a couple of matches in the group stage of CFPL and then a couple of matches that they played in the playoffs of CFPL as well. And they really were trading series. There was a couple of wins for King Zero, a couple of wins for Baisha. Ultimately, it was Baisha that did end up getting that last laugh in the grand final of CFPL. But it's not as if King Zero can't take the scalp here today. And they've got a lot of material to look at when it comes to this Black Widow, but another very slow approach from Baisha to kick off round 2 here as they do start to work their way towards short. Full long control for King Zero. You can see they've got that double sniper set up as well, so should be well prepared to defend this A hit. You just want to find yourself a pick or two and then hold on to that long control. That'll be the objective here for King Zero.
Nice drop in, but in fact, Tong can't do anything. And now you've got this deep space in towards CT. You could just have N9 holding. Bomb will be planted. And it feels like 9U is just on an island here. Spam, brilliant, but it goes the other way. Ice, able to lock in the kill, 4v4.
Yeah, Leah just having a little bit of a look towards long, knows that there is another player over there. Like you mentioned, 9U has given away his position, but he's still going to have to commit. Grenades coming through now, trying to unsettle Baisha on this hold, but the 4-on-4 is looking good once again for Baisha. Just way too comfortable. 9U comes through too late, everybody getting involved, and Baisha making it look nice and clean.
Effortless. Especially in that afterplan, right? Because you've got everyone on the site for Baisha. You've got King Zero that are all together, and then suddenly there's a rush of blood to their heads, I think, for these defenders. And they completely split up, and that gives the opportunity just to isolate the kills. Nothing in isolation about this one, except for XN. Grabbing the trade. Lai needs it and can't quite get it. It's XN finding everything. Finally, the sniper will find its success, but it could be too little too late.
Yeah, you would say so. I mean, a 2v4 is going to be a tough one to pick apart, but Xiao is one of those guys that can manage these kinds of rounds when he's in peak form. Perhaps the most explosive sniper in the world. YDSS will chime in with one. It's just a 1-for-1 though, so the rest of this job will fall on that sniper of Baisha. Wouldn't really want to be seeing King Zero give him any opportunities here. I don't want to see anybody swinging long, trying to look for information. I think best case just to buddy up on the site right here, because if you do give Xiao a couple of 1v1s, he's going to win this round.
Got the time to work with too. Can reset the situation instead. It is trying to bunny hop just to gain some space and some ground. This is really nice from King Zero, as you say, that they're not giving him anything.
Yeah.
A pixel walk to isolate a kill. Nothing is being offered up that this should be a King Zero round.
Well, I do question, though, whether or not he's maybe not quite going to commit here. I thought maybe rotate over towards B. Now, though, having been spotted and misses that flick onto ice, that's going to draw the attention of all these King Zero defenders. And Xiao shot in the back by YF. I think there was definitely a world where if he goes back in through mid towards B, he could have slipped the net. Nobody was actually watching. But in the end, chooses to go up towards A, and that's where he does end up getting spotted out, and that brings YF across. So, all good in the end. King Zero on the board early. Their last matchup, Black Widow was a close affair, 10-7. in the grand final of CFPL. It did go the way of Baisha, but King Zero are no slouches, particularly if Tong is online. He finds himself that 2-for-1 to start this round off. So again, I think we're going to get a real back and forth today between Baisha and King Zero.
It's going to be really interesting because Baisha always beat King Zero on Black Widow. King Zero always beat Baisha on Ankara. So if that is to change, if one of these two teams are able to finally get one over on the other, that's the only way, in my opinion, this series can be a 2-0.
So that's a fairly reasonable take. Early days, obviously. Baisha having now slowed back down after losing those couple of players in the opener. To explore their way in through mid, they'll get a smoke onto the right side, and that's going to give Leo a little bit of room to work with. Should he desire to, although that desire not seemingly there for the moment. He's just going to try to cut off some rotations if the entry through the box room goes well, which it has not. And 9 down early on in the piece. YDSS now sort of solo carrying that bomb forward, and Baisha just having no success in any of the duels this round.
It's very much like what we got yesterday out of King Zero. It's very, very passive here when they are on GR, that they're setting up all of these crossfires. They're just saying to Baisha, right, come on then. Come and take our space. Come and take our ground. Try and disrupt our setup. It's going to be very difficult to do so. It's just consistent pressure being applied through the art of being patient. And I think this is where Tong can shine. Already seen the sniper, I think, take some really deep lines, making it really tricky. And then the variety, just switching things up in this round, finding a multi-kill where it felt like King Zero weren't going to put that pressure on. It's that slight switch.
Welcome everyone, welcome to the stream, guys. Crossfire
a very even playing field early
is
on.
here.
And Baisha will go back to the drawing board. That they've now
Crossfire.
have to go back to plan B instantaneously.
Yeah, hopefully plan B is don't lose 2 players to the mid fight against Tong. No fight in mid this time around. YF trying to get aggressive with that secondary sniper out of the box room. You are going to typically see double sniper setups on a map like Black Widow for the teams that can run it.
Crazy setup initially for King Zero. He had 3 players over towards B very early, ready to drop utility, ready to potentially cover a faster hit that was coming in. It looks like Baisha pulled the plug on it, and now you can have these double snipers flex and be a lot more varied. In the meanwhile, you've got XN that's taking the advanced line over and long. He might start pushing the issue.
Just going to jump spot at the moment for now. I think that's fine. You've sort of seen Baisha play a very slow style so far on this attack, so not really the incentive for King Zero to go pushing around the map. That's probably being watched for at the moment, and indeed it is from the BL spawn. So if XN were to go forward here, he would be giving up his life, you would imagine. Got Xiao posted on that line initially, and now Leah's starting to come across. This is where he's going to now get his information. A minute 18 on the clock. Baisha are really taking their time about things, and XN's been able to cross. He has not been spotted there, so should be good for 1, and maybe not 3, but does it anyway. That is crazy from XN. The trade not there from Baisha. And just a little mishap, falling off the line at the wrong time. They don't get the info on the cross, and then he surprises them. And that aim coming into play, it's going to force out the timeout from Baisha as well. They're feeling unsettled on the stage, and maybe they're wondering, maybe they're thinking about exactly what you were talking about. If we lose Black Widow, our Ankara record against King Zero has not been very good. So we've got to get on top of this, and we've got to get on top of it now.
Everything you want to do has just been disrupted. Just from the art of King Zero not really doing anything too deliberate when it comes to being aggressive. This round's really cool. You've actually had 2 examples of individual play. You've had Tong pushing mid in the previous. Now here you've got the jump spot out of XN, and it's such a high risk, high reward play to make, because if you go 1 for 1 there, you can imagine that the scaling from Baisha will come out long. You're almost funneling them in there because there's still 2 defenders on the GR side over towards A. But for XN, if he goes down without a kill there, that's where it can really fall apart. But 3, that is a huge overperformance.
Yeah.
I like the timeout being called here by Baisha because, as you say, they're just being undone right now by individual errors.
Yeah, I mean, you look at that position, you think, okay, that's probably a one and done kind of position. You expect him to get 1 just because he's able to catch them off guard with a bit of an off angle, but 3, I mean, it's obviously impressive from his perspective to be able to maintain that spray, but you have to also look at Baisha and think, maybe you need to be trading that one down a little bit better. So it's not all sunshine and roses at the moment for Baisha on the international stage, and nor was it, you know, for the majority of 2025 either. I think we kind of came into last year and we were sort of setting up this narrative of AG versus Baisha, and then, you know, maybe we'll see whether or not some of these other teams can hold a candle to them. There was certainly a lot of hype around Falcons back then after their performances as Wolf Empire back in 2024, but the main narrative really was AG versus Baisha, who's going to be the dominant team coming through in 2025. That ended up obviously being AG. They won EWC, they won CFS 2025, and now coming into this year, it feels like there's quite a bit more parity, right? AG's stumbling a little bit in CFPL, Baisha's kind of on the rise again in CFPL, but we sort of see these teams like King Zero, Evolution Power having success here and there as well, and Stallions on the rise. And then obviously yesterday we saw Vitality looking pretty good too. So there's a few teams to kind of throw in the mix, and that's the fun part of, I guess, this time of year, right? We're coming into the first big international tournament on the CROSSFIRE calendar, and we're getting to really see how all these teams look on an international stage, because you can only infer so much from the domestic competition. And once again, Baisha, you know, they are such a legendary organization in the world of CROSSFIRE that they'll be hoping to find themselves another title here at EWC or later on this year at CFS. But so far, it's been tough going for them. And King Zero, I think you could sort of say they're a little bit more of like an underdog in a sense in the international tournaments. We haven't seen the same success for them as some of those other names. So this is, again, another opportunity for King Zero to really make their mark on the international stage.
I think that's why CROSSFIRE is really cool, because you've got all of these storylines that overlap and I think interlock with each other. You've got the same names, the same legendary organizations, but it feels like there's always a shift in the scales and the power year in, year out. Big fight over towards the B-bomb site right now. N9, speaking of legends, just waits patiently. XN Ice, they're going to have multiple players to try and deal with him. In fact, everyone from Baisha is grouping up. It's going to be a big old biff at B.
Yeah, whether or not it happens just yet will remain to be seen. That was a resmoke coming through from King Zero, so Baisha might just have to wait that out again. And in the meanwhile, King Zero have rotated their players off, so it's just Ice here to try to defend B. There's a smoke that's gone over the top.
It's not going to work, though. They've already got the space in middle. They know this information. So this mid to B sort of phase isn't going to work. And Tong is able to get the first kill. Now, suddenly, you've got everyone that can rotate over. This bomb site is so defended.
Yeah, it was a really good flash there coming through from King Zero. It slowed Baisha down a little bit, and that's where XN can come into play from behind. And King Zero will claim their fourth on the GR side. You talk about that entry attempt from Baisha, it seemed like in some senses that became a bit too telegraphed, and King Zero well prepared for it. They got multiple smokes into the box room. By the time Baisha eventually decides that they do want to push, there's a flash that pops in their face at that exact moment that smoke is fading. Tong hits the opener, the push slows down, and then King Zero, they have all that map control, and once again, they're dominating Baisha. 9U taking the fight out of the box room, already finds himself the 2-for-0, and Baisha are crumbling on the stage now at the hands of King Zero.
This is desperate. This is really desperate out of Baisha in round 7. Just to push in, they're trying to go even faster, switch up the tempo, but it's not working. You've not got the utility in place to deal with it. You're just hoping that your firepower can overwhelm and you can trade efficiently. Doesn't happen. 9U able to get that multi-kill. And they just needed that lurker in mid in the previous round, because XN gets so much info. That's why all the utility can come over, because King Zero are constantly in the know, and it feels like Baisha are operating in the dark.
Yeah, this could be very scary for Baisha if King Zero are able to put together a strong GR side here. YF as well chiming in with one onto Xiao. It just seems there's not really a whole lot of success happening here for Baisha. YDSS maybe has been the pick of the bunch. For him and Leah to try to put this round together, both tagged up in a 4-on-2.
Why are they separating? This is really concerning to me. Like, I understand the need to maybe attack from different angles and avenues, but you're just being smoked off. You've now been naded, and that means that YDSS is completely on his own. He's trying to find XN. Is being aware of these corners. Did he spot the head? Oh, certainly does now, but he can't get the best of XN. That leaves it into a really difficult scenario now. The bomb trying to make its way over. Tong ready. And I love the way that Tong plays, especially on the GR side, because he just doesn't peek. He just guarantees always success for King Zero.
Yeah, there's a lot of success happening right now. 5-2. Baisha are no doubt rattled. And I think right now this is just an opportunity for King Zero to really stamp their mark, not only on the international stage, but particularly in these kinds of domestic matchups, right? If they can dismantle a team like Baisha so comprehensively. Well, there's no doubt that they could do the same to an AG or a Q9. Now, will be concerns for the other squads from CFPL.
I think that there's maybe some people that might be thinking, oh, well, look, King Zero played yesterday. Baisha didn't really have the opportunity. Their first game here on the international stage at EWC, an advancement game. At the same time, you're still speaking about a Baisha that has got all of this experience. I'd understand a bit more if you were maybe painting that narrative more towards Stallions, but for Baisha, they should be coming into this hot. It shouldn't matter.
No, 100%. I mean, you've had the opportunity to sort of play prac games and scrims and whatnot, and it's just the nature of the beast, really. When you're a professional player, you need to be able to step up when it matters, and right now, Baisha are not doing that. King Zero, 3 players over towards this A site, getting a little bit antsy towards short. Grenades going through XN. Just get 1 kill with that grenade, but now the site's starting to falter. There's 1 more player here, though, and he's also going to be dealt with. Rotation still, though, coming through. YF connecting with that TRG, and we're back into a 2-on-2, which becomes a very winnable round still here for King Zero, who have opted to go for the long rotate. They didn't want to try to challenge the plant. Trying to mind game Baisha a little bit here, but this would, I think, be a very real nail in the coffin if King Zero can pick this round up. So a big clutch coming up here for Baisha.
Timing, what does it look like for 9U? N9, oh, gets the spot immediately, but you've still got this sniper over at Cat. And that's up to Laya. It's really difficult to try and clutch this up in the 1v2. Has to try and isolate a kill, but can't do it. King Zero are on top, and they keep on dominating.
Yeah, 100%. Beautiful clutch coming through from them. Easy pick off for YF to put it into the 1v2. And at that point, when you're stuck in that window position in a 1-on-2, you just don't have any options. It's kind of like a fish in the barrel situation. 6 and 2 here for King Zero, and I have to say, King Zero just looking a lot sharper in the server at the moment. Baisha, you know, maybe not awake at this point. There's a lot to be said about N9 in the past and how legendary of a player he was, and the same maybe for Xiao. 2 driving forces behind the successful period that Baisha had a couple of years ago, but just not really delivering that same level in the server anymore.
It's interesting what the death said as well about expectation for N9 has won it all, such a storied player, legacy at this point. I mean, the fact that Ice on the other side is being compared to him.
Yep.
The only trophy he's not won is EWC. Feels like in some of these rounds, he's been trying to really force the issue, and that can be so detrimental to a team. If you've got a player going by themselves, really trying to get kills here and there. This one feels better because, again, they're trying to make their way out all together in towards short, but it's not working. Yet again, more kills just come in for King Zero, and there's no trace. There's no opportunity here for Baisha on their choice.
Oh, Ice going to go down, but that doesn't matter once again. Like you say, they're set up too good. It's going to take Xiao a little bit of a miracle to work this round, and that was a nice shot, but again, too much to do. And King Zero will take themselves the 7 and 2 lead at the halftime break. That is a astronomical lead on a map like Black Widow. This is not supposed to be a 7 and 2 half. Worst case scenario, you know, maybe you're looking at a 6-3, but I've always sort of seen this as a bit more of a 5-4 kind of a map. You can get it done on both sides. So right now, King Zero have the opportunity to utterly dominate this opening map and take a huge boost of momentum into their pick of Ankara and potentially knock Baisha down into that lower bracket, secure themselves a position in the playoffs in the meanwhile as well. So lots going on here that King Zero can be very pleased about.
This year at CFPL, when King Zero played Baisha, the maximum amount of rounds they've ever got on Black Widow was 7. They've already achieved that here in 9 rounds. That's immaculate. And now they're hoping for even more. Utility being set up here by N9. It feels like King Zero may be going in towards B to show Baisha how it's done. Baisha were never able to get in towards this site in the first half.
Little jump spot there from XN. Sees Leah on the setup. That's going to prompt a couple of grenades to come through, but he's deep enough that they will not connect. King Zero going to take a leaf out of Baisha's book and play a little bit of a slower round to kick things off here on that blacklist side. I think King Zero are really sensing the opportunity that they have in this series right now, and they don't want to fumble it. To have a lot of control over long, YF has managed to push his way out into barracks, and he can pretty much spot all the way down long. So you'd imagine that's probably where that transition is going to come back across for King Zero. XN does drop, though, on the rotation. It seems Baisha might have been aware of that. They were set up around middle, waiting for that rotate to come through. 5-7-7 up close personal and dealt with actually by Tong. YDSS swinging for the trade.
Big kill.
Does get overlooked a little bit by King Zero, but they're still pressuring their way in onto A. Xiao unable to do anything about it, but again, YDSS lurking and found by YF. There just seems to be so many answers every time for King Zero. They will be granted the plant, and it's just peak after peak for Baisha, and they just keep getting picked. I'm just waiting for that round to kind of slow down a little bit. For the retake, for Baisha to kind of reset themselves, but they never really do.
Tong opens up this round with that incredible quick scope over towards short. It really felt like he should not have found that success. And as you're saying, with all the barrack space over along, like YF can just pick and choose his timing, and it felt like these players were just nowhere near the fight. Really nice contact out of King Zero, and they immediately get what Baisha were after. It was Baisha towards the end of that first half, consistently trying to push for that short space, just consistently trying to go up towards Catwalk. Didn't work, didn't happen. And I like this out of Baisha because we are trying something new in round 11, that they've pushed very deep over towards B. They've got a very aggressive space. Now they want to crunch on middle.
Now King Zero, though, seem to be pretty aware of it. They're working around it for the moment. Very, very safe. Rotate back up through BL spawn. Starting to try to work these mid lines. Leah watching for a potential push up short. YF now going fishing. Has got his riflers in tow as well. It's a very methodical approach from King Zero. If they walk all the way down mid, they might actually be able to catch Leah here. They can work their way back up that ramp or just bust through the mid doors. It's going to be concerning, and that's exactly what I'm talking about. Leah had no idea. YDSS maybe leaving him a little bit surprised by the possibility. And that round just falls apart for Baisha. It's as if King Zero knew exactly what Baisha's setup was. That may be prep, that may be, you know, familiarity with what Baisha's done in the past, and perhaps Baisha just aren't changing things up that much.
It has to be. It has to be really good homework there, because they hit the exact timing they need to isolate Laya from that position. Then the previous round as well, they have the exact timing to isolate the player on site, on that A bomb site. They're looking like the veterans right now. They're looking like such a well-rehearsed team.
Yep.
The choreography of Black Widow here for King Zero is absolutely phenomenal. And what a statement this would be if they're able to beat Baisha 10-2 on the map that Baisha always win.
Yeah, I think that would be huge. Obviously, they still have to get it done on Ankara, and that doesn't always necessarily happen. In these kinds of circumstances, you get the upset in map 1, you think brilliant, it's going to be series over, but Baisha, I'm sure, will have some kind of a resurgence for map 2.
You'd hope so.
At this point, though, it is certainly looking like it is going to be King Zero that are going to go into Ankara with a huge advantage. Good call here from King Zero again. So they just go pivoting up short, 5 players up short right here, and the only player there to defend against that is Leah, who's 2 and 9.
They just got to know what's happening based off of the early grenades, like surely. Like, that's dictating a lot of the setup, but maybe Baisha really are that readable.
Ooh.
And they're going to leave. They're faking this one out. Maybe they get a little bit too complicated now, but we'll see if it pays off.
There's not a whole lot of information around the map right now for Baisha. You've got 5-7-7 that's smoked off long, and you've got YDSS that's pushed up in the box room, but those are fairly standard GR positions, so you're not getting necessarily any advance notice as to where this is going to be. I don't think Baisha 100% aware of where King Zero are going, and again, that box room hold solo might not go well for YDSS. It's just a one and done kind of a position. N9 trying to find those trades, eventually does sort of get a bit of help there from Xiao. This round for King Zero maybe opened back up with that kill from Tong. Needs another, can't get it onto Xiao. C4 in hand for Ice. He's got a full belt of HP at least. He wants to take that challenge over to Xiao, who's now low. If he gets this, the round was really on, but Xiao lands the shot and Baisha survive.
I think it's one of those where King Zero actually get too tricky. I don't think that's a Baisha round being concrete yet. I think that it's more King Zero overplaying their hands and also relying a lot on their utility to dictate rotates. And I think Baisha do a good job in this round because they don't see any pressure off the back of the grenades. They don't immediately rotate. So I think there's more players there in towards that B bomb site that King Zero were ready for.
Yeah, a bit of long presence immediately out the gates for Baisha there. Taking that for free. There was no contest from King Zero. Again, that contest. Sorry,
every time these little spams consistently.
The head glitch. Yeah, King Zero take that long control nice and easily. Baisha more interested in middle, which has once again been cleared out again early on in the piece by King Zero. Might be somewhat setting themselves up again for an A split. You can often see, 3 or 4 players up through short, 1 or 2 out through mid. You don't get the sense that King Zero are going to do anything too quickly in any of these rounds. They are really exploring their options as much as they can. Re-clearing long again for the second time in the round, by the way.
I'm surprised they've not gone back to one of the first rounds they did, which was having YF by himself at long, and then you put everyone over towards short. Zhao having a little bit of a peak, but there isn't going to be this overcommitment.
We've got the boost here for 9U. So, very much looking to try and clear out this long line. They do so successfully. They have been able to set YF up at the bottom long, so that's the first piece of the puzzle that you've spoken about. Presence up long, but also presence in mid, presence over towards the other side of the map as well.
Michael's got a flashbang, he can maybe throw. Instead, no, it's just pure contact and Zhao can take the kill.
Might be a distraction though. We'll see if he can survive here as the push is starting to come through short. Zhao and 577 are locking it down. And once again, you kind of get the feeling that King Zero might have tried to make this one a little bit too tricky. Given Baisha an avenue back into this conversation.
Yeah, that round's curious because you're right. What they rely on there is contact being taken, and then the player that is part of the crunch solo, by the way, to get a multi. I think it was XN, the King Zero.
This is what maturity looks like in instant
YF just drops a flash deep and just flashes Zhao off the angle, then that's going to be a lot more efficient. Instead, that doesn't happen. King Zero, you were 9-2 up in this game. Sure, it's not a cause for concern right now, but the last thing you want to do is to allow Baisha to feel like they're in the series.
Yeah, 100%. I think you want to get this done ASAP if you can. Ideally, it would have been a 10-2. Every round that you give over to Baisha, you start to, allow a player like Zhao to kind of come back online. You saw what he was able to do in that last round. He's starting to hit some of those flicks that we're so used to seeing from him. Another tag this time onto 9U. These rounds are getting harder for King Zero as we go deeper into this map.
They're just overcomplicating it. I just think they need to go together, group up, and trade, because Tong has been hitting some fantastic shots early, especially close quarters with the sniper. Zhao still waiting for an opportunity. Tong doesn't punish him. That was the chance. That was the moment for King Zero.
Yeah, both getting a shot in there, and neither are actually connecting. King Zero going to default once again back to what looks to be an A hit. This time just YF over on long. I kind of prefer this. The Wolfpack style from King Zero. If they go together, they can at least try to look for some trades, but still not pulling the trigger. What is the ghost?
CROSSFIRE is here, bro. CROSSFIRE.
It needs to be now, but you also need to get Zhao off the angle. Difficulty here for Baisha is that it's 2 snipers locking things down. So if you miss the shot, then you're going to get punished just like that. King Zero are in sight.
Yeah, and I think that might just be it. We'll see whether or not this retake can come through for Baisha, but Tong getting out in front of it. He spotted out 9 as well, and it is just 9. To try to put together this 1v5 is essentially what it's going to be. So let's see how legendary of a player he can actually be. Taking his time, but it was a death sentence after all. 10-4. Map 1 goes the way of King Zero, and they wrap it up super easily. Baisha rattled on the stage, and we have a lot of questions as to what that's going to mean for the rest of this series.
Yeah, absolutely. You've got to remember as well that you've got Ankara in the back pocket, and this is the choice for King Zero, that they always get the best out of themselves against Baisha specifically. It's an incredible result. for King Zero. And to be honest, for 90% of that game, they always looked in control. Baisha didn't do anything too crazy to win those rounds. It was all King Zero overcomplicating it, but they take a huge first step in this series.
What an unbelievable performance from King Zero. Two eliminations right off the rip. Baisha's energy was at an all-time high, but then King Zero shuts them down 4 rounds in a row, forcing attack pause early on.
Oh man, and this is one of the main reasons why KZ is one of the most fun teams to actually watch to come out of China, because they really do like to push the pace, especially when it comes to maps like Black Widow. They don't simply allow Baisha to go for that slow setup, especially in the B waters area, especially in the long area. There is going to be a player like XN or Ice constantly trying to see if there is a flank opportunity, and it seems like the pressure's a bit too much for Baisha, which is wild to say.
Yeah, we didn't get to see Baisha play yesterday. I'm not sure we're going to get to see them play today. They were just shut out completely. It was an incredible masterclass. I mean, XN, what an absurd performance. That 3K out towards long where he plays off the nade, gets that timing. His spray control was superb. That 3K, there was another multi over towards B where he locked it down. It felt like mechanically he was just on a whole nother level.
Yeah, Tong and YF running the dual snipes. We don't see it often, but it does happen from time to time. They were locking the lanes down.
Oh, for sure, and I feel like that is one of the main reasons why we didn't see the best version of Xiao Xiao today, right? I mean, you kill Tong, you have to deal with YF, you kill YF, you have to deal with Tong, so it's still it's an uphill battle for him every single time, and the fact that YF was hitting every single shot that he was attempting here is nothing short of amazing, and really did neutralize the combo of the N9 Xiao Xiao in here in the Baisha Gaming.
Yeah, it just felt like, you know, this is two teams that come through very different contexts. You've got Baisha who haven't played a game on the stage yet, and you've got King Zero who had that game yesterday where they absolutely dominated. They felt very comfortable, I think, coming into today. Any nerves shaken off, and they felt like a team in really hot form, whereas for Baisha, it feels like they've really come in cold.
Yeah, this was moments before disaster. Baisha starts off hot and heavy. They were cheering, they were getting excited. Big Giles on stage, but then all of a sudden,
this is crazy.
It's 2-2, and like you said, Lucy, that was insane.
Just an absurd spray control, and he uses the HG like over the top to kind of get behind them, so they're not expecting. And there was that second clip as well, like he was absolutely absurd. All the riflers were on point, like the trading was so exceptional. There was just never really a chance to fight back, and it felt like the timings they were hitting, like whenever XN's calling these moments to move out, particularly from the short side, when it comes to the BL side of things, it was every time, you know, they got off the angle, every time they looked away, like it was absurd the timings they were hitting.
Yeah, it's crazy to see the scoreline 9-2. It would finish ultimately 10-4, but I mean, KZ gets up to 9 rounds. They actually win 9 rounds in a row before Baisha is even able to respond.
Yeah, and I really like this small detail as well. For every time that they do push into Xiao Xiao, it's always 3 players swinging constantly, because you're not, you know, you're not allowed to get a 3K with the TRG unless they all line up at the same time. But, you know, they got the priorities right every single time, and Baisha, they just looked lost in some of these rounds, in all honesty.
Yeah, you mentioned YDS having a good start. You know, we had the highest damage in the team by quite a big margin. I do feel like the sniper was hitting some great shots towards the end, like there were some opportunities, and he got some unlucky timings throughout it, but look at the consistency across the board from the side of King Zero, right? Ice, I thought it was just, you know, very cherry on top that he got the final kill on Dead 9 as well.
Yeah, I was looking. There was a couple of low stat lines there for the side of Baisha. It makes sense, though, given the fact that it ended 10-4. And you said it, Lucy, it's the first time that they take the stage when it comes to EWC this year anyways. There's a lot of expectations on N9. But for the rest of the roster, if N9's underperforming, who steps up in his place?
It has to be YDSS, man. I mean, YDSS, the reason why they actually got him on this team was to be the tertiary carry. I mean, other than N9 and Xiao Xiao, he has to be the one that is consistently, you know, bringing his team those really good trades, really good support opportunities as well. And if he cannot step up to the plate, then this might be Baisha being prey this time instead of being the shark.
That's right. Well, EWC Play, we've been asking for your predictions all tournament long. You gave your tournament predictions, but we need a little bit more. Check out EWC Play.
thinks he can come in here and play my game. Go. He knows nothing. Let's go!
Tyler Wine, you're done.
This is my ladder. You can't climb it.
That's an L airline.
Somebody better hold me.
Okay, yeah. Do something then.
We're about to hop into map number 2 between Baisha and King Zero. King Zero currently leading the charge 1-0, forcing Baisha to come back. They're going to have to do so quickly. If they don't, they will be going down to the lower bracket, and King Zero will be punching their ticket into the next stage. But let's take a look at something special for all of you out there. We got a code available for you. Get your in-game items, Sneaky. I know you're pumped up for this one.
Yeah, I am. I'm trying to memorize the code right now so I can actually take this later.
He's so locked in. He's so locked in.
I mean, the M14 EBR and the CF EWC, actually, right back home, this is one of the more touted EBRs, especially knowing that most of the population would want to have a skinned EBR. So, guys, make sure to claim it.
That's right. Claim it. Get the code. Scan the QR code, however which way you do it. By the way, update on B-Stream. It just ended. Stallions taking down Team Liquid in game number 1, but it was incredibly close. 10-7. So back and forth. Team Liquid, a talented roster. Can they continue to take Stallions to the limit? Will we get a game 3? All that happening on Stream B, but make sure you also stay here on Stream A, because we are about to hop into map 2, King Zero and Baisha. And speaking of which, Baisha, they need some big adjustments.
Yeah, it's going to be tricky for them, right? Because Blackwood has been very reliable for them. And Kara, this has been the territory for KZ. They've been so good on it throughout the season, and particularly in this matchup as well, right? It's been the one that they can rely on consistently. And given how map 1 played out, I'm very worried for Baisha.
Ankara coming up next. Will it be different for Baisha this time around? It was their map pick after all.
Yeah, I feel like this could be different for the side of Baisha, considering there's now a lot more space to work with for the snipers. And, you know, Xiao Xiao, he has been known to have some good performances in this map. So, you know, I would still peg KZ as the favorite in this one, but there's a shot.
All right, it's King Zero versus Baisha. Ice, the newcomer, versus In9, the legend. Will Baisha fight back, or will King Zero shut them down? That's the big question on everybody's mind. For Baisha, such a talented roster. I asked who needs to step up if N9 is playing lackluster. Well, it's YDSS. That's what Sneaky says. I agree with you. YDSS needs to come back in full form and fight hard in order to force a game 3, which goes to Eagle Eye. Now, I want to ask Sneaky, now Eagle Eye, if we do get to the map 3, however, do you think Baisha or King Zero would be the favorite?
In all honesty, I feel like in terms of experience, I feel like King Zero would be actually the one slightly leading on Eagle Eye.
Okay, King Zero. Wow. So if they go into Eagle Eye, it's already looking bad enough for Baisha. Lucy, Sneaky is saying it's going to look even worse if they go to game 3.
Yeah, I mean, Eagle Eye 2.0 has been a little like up and down between the two. I think the record at the moment is actually pretty much 50-50. Like 10-5 was what Baisha won at last time, but then it was 10-6 at KZ the time before. So it's in very close. And I think if Baisha do bring it back to that final map, I think it'll be a very tight one.
Yeah, I mean, this is a tightly and closely contested matchup. After all, again, you guys brought up, Lucy, going back to you, I mean, grand finals of last year, they played against each other. It is a rematch after all. I believe it was King Zero, though, who got that last win, correct, over Baisha, and they're looking to do it again. So Baisha should have done their homework before heading to the stage, but even if they did, King Zero are hitting the shots.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's just, again, back to that conversation about teams coming through hot. Baisha, this is their first stage game, and I'm willing to give them the benefit of the doubt. They just needed that one game in the server to kind of feel themselves, to kind of get to the level you expected, and we could start to see that resurgence. It was just a really rough shutout. That was, what, 9 rounds in a row or whatever. It just took them way too long to get things into gear. But I think now they've had that map, they've had the conversation with their coach, they'll have a conversation with each other, and I think we're going to have a very different looking Baisha coming into map 2.
And going back to N9, the legend who has so many accomplishments. We know he's getting up there in age. He's still hitting shots and playing well. But in all respect to his history, his lineage, But if they bomb out here on EWC stage this year and Baisha doesn't even reach the next phase, which I don't think is a probability in this matchup anyways for King Zero, obviously it's a big one. Maybe they drop down to lower bracket, but let's say things don't go well here. What does that mean for N9's career moving forward, you think? I know it's all speculation.
Yeah, I mean, he's going to be his legacy as a player in CROSSFIRE. There is always going to be that one trophy that he couldn't get, and that is EWC. And obviously, you know, his counterpart, his main rival in CFPL, ZY, I mean, he's already gotten his. And I feel like at 9, if you want to solidify the GOAT status over all of the players in CFPL, you're going to have to get this trophy.
Have to. You've got to fight hard for it. You know, too often, you know, even on this in the Allianz Vault, Lucy, we've been hearing that story consistently. There's a lot of champions that have stepped onto that stage, but not a champion at EWC. Winning this trophy hits different. There's only been 3 EWCs. This is your number 3. You don't get many chances to claim glory.
Yeah, and it's the one that N9 doesn't have, right? So it's kind of the big battle. It's the biggest trophy in terms of the prize pool as well, right? There's so much glory that goes into this. There's not a lot of big international, you know, moments within CROSSFIRE. It's this and CROSSFIRE Stars, right? So you really want to, especially after coming second last year, right? Like, I think anything less than getting through to at least top 4 is a disappointment for Baisha.
Yeah, absolutely the case. For King Zero, though, exciting stuff. Playing as well as they are. You got the story with Ice, plus Tong is out there. You know, Tong's an interesting talking point. He was actually soloed out yesterday by the team they were playing. They said, look, we don't really have to worry about Ice necessarily. We just need to shut down Tong. But you know what Tong did? He shut down the enemy team. He's not messing around.
Yeah, and I feel like Tong is not wasting any opportunity about being in this team, right? Tong has been on TWE before this one, and obviously that team wasn't as stellar as KZ. So I feel like he's really, you know, grasping the moment and say, hey, this could be one of the few times that I could be on a trophy-winning team. I'm going to go all out.
Yeah, it just feels like, you know, they don't need to rely on one player, right? Like, we've had so much conversation about N9, you know, on the side of Baisha, but there's so many points on KZ where, like, it's just the consistency across the entire roster, because you got Tong, but then that kind of rifle core, like, the amount of times that we saw Ice and Nanu just kind of combining in these entries, like, it just felt like where one wasn't able to come through the multi, the other one would. Like, they were so quick on the trade and just such a mechanical-looking team in those executes.
That's right. Baisha, obviously, coach just behind him, a very talented member of the CROSSFIRE community in general. How does he get Baisha up to the point where they can win map number 2? Because at this point, it's not about thriving, it's about survival.
Yeah, obviously, he's like Zima, one of the most consistent coaches that we have seen on the side of Baisha. He's been through multiple eras already, right, on this team. So it is very impressive what he can kind of muster, especially with those rosters where, you know, Baisha wasn't really looking too good, but there were also some moments that they still, you know, got some very good upsets at the same time. So I feel like he's a very huge factor here.
Who would you say is probably one of the most dominant coaches in CROSSFIRE history? I mean, Tanks gets a lot of attention because of the, you know, the rising up of the Stallions. You know, you also have Vitality with their talented coach too, who's a legend in his own right. Obviously, we just mentioned Baisha. Who do you think is in the GOAT category when it comes to coaches?
That's making me think, actually, that might have to dig deep into this one. There is some legends though back in CFPL who's kind of gotten into coaching. I think 18 was also coaching at one point. I think Best as well. And yeah, I would say that even on the other coaches from the other team, like TF and all that.
Well, I'll let you think about it. Give me an answer a little bit later, because I'm glad I actually hit you with one that forced you to dig deep. Well, speaking of digging deep, it's Baisha. They're currently down 1-0 in the series, one map away from going to the lower bracket. Will it happen? Will King Zero shut the door on Baisha? Let's find out with B-Dog and Elfish Guy.
Archon, look, you said Baisha top 4. That would be the expectation. Let's see if they can get through this best of 3 first, guys. They're already one map down. Here on Ankara, they need to make ends meet.
Yeah, going to be another slow start out from Baisha, though, to kick things off here. They just try to set themselves up outside of A. You can already immediately see King Zero with that 3-2 split. They are prepared for some kind of setup over towards the A side of the map early on in the piece from Baisha, but that may sort of dissipate as the round continues onward. Not a whole lot of information gathering happening here either for King Zero, so they're kind of in the dark about what Baisha's setup is looking like.
Yeah, they've got to be worried about middle, but also coming back into this veto really quickly before we get any gunfights. I think what's interesting is that you've got KZ starting both on the defensive halves in this veto. You've got Baisha that wanted to start BL here on Ankara, but Black Widow GR was always the choice here for KZ. Maybe that's part of the game plan. Massive nade onto 577, but then comes the commitment. No kill yet. YF just needs to get out of dodge.
There's that early information, though, and you can see it's immediately brought the rotation across from King Zero, not to mention the fact that 577 with the bomb has been taken down on his own. This is a bit of a mess already for Baisha. I mean, you cannot tell me that the guy with the bomb should be working solo into Hotel. Cohesion off for Baisha in this opening round of the Blacklist side, and King Zero have put themselves in a good spot as a result. I mean, it's a deep push in from YF as well, so I just don't see how you're going to win this round if you're Baisha. They do manage to win that 1v1. 9 up against Ice.
Oh, time in onto 9U, maybe. I don't think they know that he's here, but 9U will reset the situation. And now you know that the bomb was over towards Hotel, but N9, he's starting to do it. Has found 3 kills already, would need the full house if he's able to make this work. C4 will at least be committed onto the site. He's got the sniper too, hoping for a chance, but 9U and YF are grouped.
If he lets them get too close, this round's going to be over. First shot missed, and that will be the opportunity gone for N9. King Zero do close the round out. It might have been a little bit closer than it perhaps ought to have been. I think that was a very shaky looking display from Baisha to open things up on their attack here on Ankara. So hoping that was maybe just a one round of nerves, and that's not what we're going to see for the rest of this half. Otherwise, yeah, we might be seeing King Zero 2-0 this.
Well, we can't have rounds of nerves. You already had a map full of nerves. You already had your map pick being dropped.
Yeah.
And now you've immediately checked out round 1 by leaving that bomb in Hotel. Like that is a big error. And this is ridiculous out of 9U. It's actually YF to get the kill, but he's the one that pushes the smoke outside of this A bomb site. They're going to have no idea that he's pushed this aggressively. YF can then take the contact and then bait the rifle in more.
Yep, 100%. I mean, it's a nice forward hold here for King Zero. They just play off of each other, but they do probably need a third player over there. XN is starting to work his way across. Some of the delay util here from King Zero being invested.
He hasn't peaked yet. Like this smoke being put down. Surely just baits 9U even more. They're just going to go through it.
It's all on YF here, just to get the info. It should be a free kill for 9U, but YDSS somehow gets him, and YF fell on the site as well. So despite a good setup, King Zero have lost control of that A site. Rotate now starting to come through. I mean, there's a lot of territory here for King Zero. They're well prepared immediately for this retake. They've got all the time in the world to work with. They do need to find themselves some entries, and all that util is headed in the direction of Ice for the moment. So it's going to be the 2 players working their way out through vents together that are going to have to try and make it happen. XN set up with a flash nicely by Tong. So we're into a 3-on-3. Big crossfire there for Shout and for YDSS. And now it's on to just Ice, who's coming through from the top side. It's a very tough clutch for him. There's not a lot of time left at all. And Shout just playing this head glitch angle. There's really nothing to be done for Ice. Yes, he gets the kill, but he does not have the time. And so Baisha will claim round number 2. King Zero will be a little disappointed. They had a very good setup to deal with that, and they were not able to capitalize.
Yeah, I tell you what, Baisha, they actually make the right read, I think, without knowing about it. I think they just wanted to catch KZ off guard by pushing through that smoke over towards the bomb site, and inadvertently they completely ruin that entire setup. That crossfire set up for success, punished by a Baisha push on towards that A bomb site. And to be honest, that's nice. That to me, that is a nice sign. The fact that Baisha are willing to take risks in terms of pushing, trying to catch their opponent off guard. They've not been unsettled by some of the mistakes that they've been making themselves. They're still trying to play their brand of CROSSFIRE, and that's effective. You need to maintain your identity, especially on the stage.
Well, Solon said he wins the race again for Baisha. Not over-investing in the early stages of this round, but once again, setting themselves up towards A. Assuming if it ain't broke, don't fix it. This time, King Zero have 2 players on the site, but 9U immediately deleted, and XN picked up on the entry as well. This A defense is starting to look like a bit of a liability for King Zero. So we'll have to keep an eye on that in the upcoming rounds to see what the change-up is going to end up being. Ice here absolutely has to clean out YDSS with the help of Tong. That's the first piece. There's still so much more to find here for King Zero if they're to try to put together this retake in the 3-on-5.
It's a bit panicky as well from Baisha. They double smoke the same choke point. Flashbangs through, trying to enable this vent scaling now for KZ, but they got to go. They got to move quicker, and this crossfire feels really difficult to break here. Ice needs to be that player to grab the kill, and he is able to do it, but Zhao with the pistol is now making things even more tricky. Is there enough time to do this? It's going to be so close for KZ. It's running out. Can he cut the wires? Not quite. Mike should just about hold on.
That was crazy, though, from King Zero that they're able to get all 5 kills there as they work their way back into that site. It is all thanks to Xiao that Baisha actually wins that round. If he doesn't double down, that is round over, and King Zero will take it. But in the end, Baisha have the advantage, and let's keep an eye on what the setup does look like. 3 players towards A this time immediately for King Zero, so reinforcing that side that has been weakened a couple of times.
That's going to open up opportunities on the other side of the map, though. Like, not necessarily B, I'm talking more about middle, because the spare man is going to have to come from mid. And that also means on Ankara that your rotates are a little bit further away. I like this out of Baisha, the initial early staging. You're still putting pressure over towards A. You're anchoring these players in, but the reroute is potentially towards B, especially with the C4 just still remaining over at BL territory.
It's a good read from Baisha. This BL side is actually well conditioned so far. King Zero having to pull that 3rd player towards A, like you say, has left mid open, and that's what Baisha are looking to exploit in this round. It might just end up being a B split. So the more weakly defended side of the map is the one that's going to be under pressure now. A bit of a tickle there for Leah and 577. King Zero aware maybe that Baisha is heading in that direction, but not committing to the B hold.
It's actually a really nice nade being thrown in by XN, because he's just saying to Baisha, by the way, we know that you're here. And as a consequence, Baisha are now jumping towards A again.
Ice is, he's on his way back over to GR spawn, so timing could be off here for King Zero, but this time at least they're able to hold on for one opening kill. XN getting run down, ends up being another 1-for-1. Ice is still here trying to hold on to the site. This is looking a little bit less tenable for Baisha so far as that wrap does start to come through. Ice needs to be wary of the player on his left. Now the smoke has bloomed, though, and it's back to a bona fide retake again for King Zero, but this time at least they're not down on numbers.
Oh, they're all going together. We've seen this out of King Zero yesterday. They're all grouping. They're all coming in from this one choke point. It's going to be difficult, though. They've got 2 snipers here, both potentially rerouting themselves.
Ice needs to hit that entry, then, in that case, if he's going to be the first man in. Does manage to do so with the help of YF. Leah's position down under the stairs is a good one. There's just so many options for these guys in the post plant.
No time.
And indeed, you're right, no time. This A site continues to be a massive problem for King Zero. So what do you do? I mean, do you try to play a little bit more aggressive here on the defense as King Zero? I don't think it's really their tendency, as we saw obviously on Black Widow. But it just sort of feels like they are giving Baisha a little bit too many options in some of these rounds. So I think I would like to maybe see a bit more of an aggressive hold outside of A, or a fight force in middle from King Zero. Because the way they're playing right now, default and standard, they're not holding their sights.
It's more mid-round re-aggressions for me. I think it's going to be too telegraphed for KZ if they start working either an aggressive push out of A or maybe lurking a player towards B. I'd like to see them grouping and taking space a lot more directly, especially when it hits like the 120, 110 mark. Instead, we're going to get this double push through vent towards A. And again, Baisha really cognizant of it, already dropping nades, already trying to push these players back. For the longer that KZ leave it, maybe the less caught off guard Baisha will be. But Zhao, his only responsibility is to hold this vent angle.
Well, patience going to be a real virtue in this matchup, that's for sure. Baisha are not going anywhere and they're not doing anything quickly. Get a single smoke over towards mid. More of a progression smoke than anything else there for Baisha, just threatening the fact that maybe they could go through the window over towards A. And it's keeping 3 players locked on the A side at the moment.
Yeah, this is confusing to me because the setup's now changed for KZ when it comes to the weaponry. They've gone for double sniper, but they're not flexing the extra rifle to rotate off. Finally, they're doing that, but YF, I think he's been pinned back a little bit. They want to reset. Baisha back in towards A. This is where they keep finding their success. And thankfully for KZ, they've got 3 players here.
I mean, it might not make a difference. They had 3 players more or less over there last time and they weren't able to hold on.
XN, he's really worried about this mid push, as you can imagine. A lot of Util's been tossed in that direction, but he has to stay here on A, and YF
It's
he's
aggressive.
going to go hunting for some information. He does spot out 577. The game might be up here. Baisha, they're just going to have to commit, and they've gone straight into that stacked site, and this time, finally, King Zero are going to be able to get it right. YDSS shot in the back of the head there by 9U. King Zero will claim their second. A lot of mind games happening here on Ankara right now.
I actually really like that push, and it does look a little bit scatterbrain from King Zero and the way that YF is pushing, but he's actually baited them straight into a crossfire, especially with the time. And you feel like you need to push forward to trade out the sniper, and you go straight into the rifle. So that was really nicely timed out of KZ.
Might be a bit of a change up here from Baisha as they're going to progress quicker even through towards the B side. They've gone straight through Beacon. It seems like King Zero have the early read on that, and they're starting to pull Ice back across, but he might not be here in time to help on out. Tong down early. YF just dancing around the boxes. He needs to get a shot in here and unable to land a connection. Bought some time there, courtesy of Ice, but unable to hold on, and this site now has been lost. The one thing to consider, though, is XN has got this crazy flank, which is dealt with by 577. XN unable to do enough, nor Ice. 9U now in a 1v4, and there's just too much to ask. Baisha with a change of pace, catch King Zero off guard. King Zero, you know, after such a great start on map 1, are faltering here on Ankara.
Yeah, this is interesting. There's actually a few things here for King Zero in this round. Number one is that this is the first time that Baisha have actually pressured Tong. Tong got caught really off guard by the timing because he wasn't prepared for how quick they were scaling up B. Secondly, yes, you got that really quick flank. Nice shot, by the way, from YF. But you had that really quick flank. You also had the bomb, but instead you're trying to fight and get these kills. You didn't need to do that if you're King Zero.
Well, this time, let's see how they play it out. This is the first sort of round where we've really seen a kill early on in the piece. A lot of these have just been 5-on-5s. Baisha choosing the right side to hit, but in this case, a 5-on-4, a player deficit that makes the job substantially more difficult to find easy, clean entries.
They're really committed to this double sniper setup. And in actual fact, you've got both snipers, YF and Tong, on the same bomb site. That this could be brilliant, or this could be an absolute disaster, because we already saw it on Black Widow, where Baisha had both of their snipers over towards the A-bomb site. They got overwhelmed with a couple of missed shots.
Baisha deciding maybe that A site is the option of choice once again. Had a lot of success over here, but a 3v2 on the entry is a far cry from a 5v3. Xiao has managed to creep his way up nice and close, but missing an opening shot. 9U capitalizing and punishing with that opportunity. Leaves just Xiao and YDSS, who's still on rotate. Xiao picked off on the timing, trying to activate alone. YDSS has now been spotted as well. 9U, he can't finish it alone, but he's done enough, you would think. King Zero will allow him to escape for now, but eventually spotted by YF. And a recovery round in for King Zero, but I kind of feel like we're just, you know, in a bit of a holding pattern here. This feels like we're just going back and forth, and things are going to have to break, things are going to have to explode at some point. Maybe in the second half.
I'll tell you what, though, 9U in this round, I think, has been fantastic, because what you've got there is the immediate repositioning. He just stayed alive, and that meant that the timing for King Zero could have all of those defenders be in there. In time, you weren't really allowing that 1v1, and instead you got Baisha scaling, and they're the ones dropping the ball. Where time keeps running low, that's where the pressure is being applied, but Baisha are only doing that to themselves. You're right, there has to be a switch up, and it's fun how they've only ran one really aggressive, explosive execute that went really well, and now they've just reverted back into playing safe. Haven't seen this crossfire work. We've seen it already being employed, but we've not seen it work yet. I don't think Baisha are going to be prepared for XN.
Maybe they'll just completely disregard him. If they head their way over towards this B side of the map. Ice coming into play here. Smoke fading, 577 on the way forward. Deleted, and that is Ice for 3. Well, that's how you win a round. He's going to get himself the 4th as well. Why not? CROSSFIRE at its finest from ice. 9. He gets himself 1, but the reality is this round is already well and truly gone. YF just looking to buy a bit of time here for his teammates to rotate across. Playing ring around the rosy and eventually finishing him off as well. That is a bit more like it for King Zero. Nice with a bit of individual brilliance, gets them up to 4-4, and they could actually still walk away with the lead in the half.
Yeah, they could. It actually, for King Zero, it's been very much individual plays. I mean, look at this from ice. It's not even a crossfire, it's just a tripwire that Baisha just walk into. And it's no wonder that Baisha's game plan has been, let's go A, let's completely ignore both Tong and Ice. Over on Ankara, you can't avoid Tong forever. He's now rerouted. He wants to stay vigilant towards A, but N9 will get the opening kill.
They'll get the opening 2 kills, apparently, as 9U tries to go charging on in as well to trade it down. That'll be a mistake in the end, and short of YF pulling off a miracle round here, I don't see much coming from it for King Zero. He's getting the info now that he needs to set himself up on that line. He does have the TRG, which can find a pick or 2 on the entry, but...
As Ice got a time in here, N9's completely ignored him, and he's trying to clear things out. Ice is right behind them.
He does.
How many can he find? Oh, it's only 1.
Only 1, but that might be enough because the rest of the shenanigans happening on the site, the bomb's been dropped.
N9's nowhere near. This is really tricky, and now he's been overwhelmed as well. It's up to YDSS. Maybe Ice has done everything, and you're right. The bomb is dropped, and it's not planted. This now gets really tricky. Tong considers all the angles, and King Zero just put a round out of the hat.
Yeah, N9, he's shaking his head after that. He knows he's made the mistake. He's gone too slow. He wasn't there to join Baisha when they were crunching it onto the site, and that is the missed opportunity for Baisha. 5-4 the lead here. King Zero working hard for this victory. There's no doubt about that. They are really being forced to put some effort in on this map. But they have the advantage, they have the lead, and now they can start to set their sights on a win here against Baisha in a 2-0 capacity.
That's a crazy timing that's been hit as well, because you felt like N9 had complete overwatch of the entire site.
It's been a bit of a strange run between these two teams. King Zero did beat Baisha on Ankara and Black Widow in the final week of CFPL in the group stage. So the precedent is there that they might be able to do that again. Double sniper set up for Baisha though.
The only thing I'm concerned about is that for King Zero on Black Widow, and I know they're different maps, but on BL, that they looked really shaky and out of sorts. So I don't know whether 5 is going to be enough. We'll have to see. They are going to swing the issue in towards middle, get this forward line, and they're not punished. And in fact, they're just going to take the space.
Well, Leah in a bit of an untenable position, but he's getting some help, of course, by YDSS. And oh dear, that has not looked good at all for King Zero. You might be exactly right. Fantastic start to the second half for Baisha. There's not really much more to say about that round. Just a good bit of shooting from Baisha, and the call from King Zero I don't necessarily hate, but you need to be getting that entry onto Leah, that's for sure.
Yeah, you need to kill Leah. And because you don't, that gives all the room for YDSS. It's interesting how Baisha are going to set themselves up here on GR. It looks like they've got 3 players over towards A, and actually a really aggressive stance. 5-7-7. King Zero take their time. They've got good staging outside A, but also middle. This big fight's going to come in, and Tong was so good at getting these close quarter kills with the sniper. Let's see if he can do it again. Not quite, but at least he's alive.
Yeah, I mean, you've got to be lucky to be alive there, because there's 2 players waiting in the vent for you, and neither of them able to finish you off. A site somewhat reinforced there by Leah, but doesn't seem like Baisha are too concerned. They're not expecting the commitment towards A.
They've got a really good understanding of this, because as King Zero rotated over towards middle, that's where grenades just rained in. And they've still got a group here. King Zero, like, I'm glad that everyone is going together. It feels like B is the final destination, as they're going to go and split. Tong had another opportunity to get a kill. Instead, it's Ice that finds the first blood onto YDSS.
Still a lot of time in this round, though, with a minute 15 on the clock. King Zero don't necessarily need to commit to anything just yet.
I want them to, because it feels like in this series they go in and then they don't, and then they want to reroute and go to a different site. Please commit to a bomb site, and they will. Straight in towards B. Ice again being difficult, but Leah, he's now getting kills himself. It has to be Ice. It feels like it always should be Ice, but N9 and 577 will overwhelm and come in. King Zero, I think that time they did take too long.
Yeah, I agree. You started to see the pre-rotate coming across from Baisha, and even despite a couple of good kills on the way in there from Ice, Leah with a nice hold as well. You have to give him some credit. Holding on to that round for Baisha, and Baisha's scoreline slowly but surely starting to creep up here. A 6-5 the lead now. And I tend to agree that they are looking a little bit more comfortable in this half at this moment than King Zero. Might be time soon for an attack timeout to come through.
What a flash. That flashed all of them bar one. On the side of King Zero, they've been rained down with bullets. They've been naded out of this round as well. It just feels so intrusive from Baisha. And King Zero just can't get comfy. This is your map pick, remember. It just doesn't feel good whatsoever. Massive nade onto Leah. That's a nice little consequence, but N9 is now trying to push onto YF.
Not sure that he's going to go too much further. It's a pretty commonly held angle here that N9 is on.
Scared for Tong.
Me too. He's shotgun sniping once again. N9 round the corner, gets both. The missed shot from Tong is where the mistake is made. That might just be the round. We'll see if King Zero can find a way to salvage it. They do decide to work their way back over towards A. They will need pretty much perfect entries in onto this A side if they're to try to do that, and it's always going to be tough. Found their resurgence in the second half. See that timeout coming through in this upcoming pause here for King Zero, and I think a very necessary timeout here for them.
Yep.
They're looking in all sorts on the attack, so if they don't figure that out right now in this quick timeout, we're going to be going to a third map, no doubt about it.
It just looks limp. Like that's the only way to really describe the offense right now for King Zero. It feels like they're just walking into angles, just almost not considering the possibility. Also, like, limited utility where we are going in and taking space just in the map in general rather than just bomb sites. It feels very laissez-faire out of King Zero. They're just stumbling into angles and Baisha just getting all these rounds very easily.
Yeah, 100%. It's shoes on the other foot now, that's for sure. King Zero were doing it easily, and I mean, this is often what you see, I think, in Crossfire. You know, you see that first map go so
ਤਾਂ ਤੇ ਹੁਣ PUBG ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਵੀ ਭੈਣ ਦੀ ਸਿਰਫ ਬੰਦਾ ਮਾਰੋ ਤੇ ਇਹੋ ਜਿਹੀਆਂ ਆਵਾਜ਼ਾਂ ਆਉਂਦੀਆਂ ਨੇ ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਅੰਦਰ
they've taken Baisha's map away from
ਜਿਹੜੀ ਫ੍ਰੀ ਫਾਇਰ ਚੱਲਦੀਆਂ ਨੇ
and then Ankara rolls around and it's a completely
ਅਜੀਬ ਹੀ
different
ਕਰਦੀ
story.
ਕਸਮੇ
And that's, I think, you know, to Baisha's credit, obviously whatever they've done in the break between map 1 and map 2 has worked out. They've
collaboration ਚੰਗੀ ਬੰਦੇ ਪੁੱਤਰਾਂ ਵਾਲੀ ਕਰਨ ਫਿਰ ਤੇ ਬੰਦਾ ਸੋਚੇ ਵੀ ਭੈਣ
It can improve video quality.
ਅਗਲਾ ਇਵੈਂਟ ਫਿਰ ਵੈਂਪਾਇਰ ਵਾਲਾ ਆ ਰਿਹਾ ਉਹ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਪਹਿਲੇ ਵੈਂਪਾਇਰ ਵਾਲਾ ਇਵੈਂਟ ਨਹੀਂ ਆ ਰਿਹਾ ਆਇਆ ਸੀਗਾ
like I said with my
ਉਹਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਰਲਦਾ ਮਿਲਦਾ ਇਵੈਂਟ ਆ ਰਿਹਾ
general sense of the vibe at the moment is that Baisha are looking a little bit more comfortable here in the second half, so King Zero have to try something.
ਲੱਗਦਾ ਕੋਈ ਫਿਲਮ ਆਈ ਹੋਣੀ ਨਾ ਦੁਬਾਰਾ
See if they can maybe unsettle Baisha. Let's find out. We're heading to round number 13 here.
ਘੋੜੇ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਸੀ ਆਏ ਸੀ ਨਾ ਪਹਿਲੀ ਵਾਰੀ
2.0 as well, right? Because if BL continues to be an issue, is that going to be a detriment for King Zero on that decider?
I mean, it very well could be for sure. It's going to be another one of those maps where you'll see a lot of double snipers, and that's something that Baisha are liking to lean into. Maybe
कौन बैठा है जसूस बैठा है जसूस ऊपर काल पे आओ bro, come on the call bro, come on the call.
Go the way of Baisha for sure. An experienced
पल्ले
team on
बैठा
that
ही
map as well. Nonetheless,
Izu welcome
Izu. Poke and a
Izu
prod over towards the A side of the map this time around. Just a couple of grenades getting sent over the top for King Zero, but no substantial damage to note.
This is quite nice actually, because this feels like a fake, but it isn't a fake. Because as a consequence, you've not got anyone rotating over from Baisha. If King Zero go now, then it's perfect. That's the issue. They need to go now, and they've not been doing
Danish,
that. You will
welcome,
miss your
Danish.
timing if you don't seize this opportunity.
They're setting up the smokes and the flashes. YF is going to throw a couple over the top. Here we go. Let's have a look. See how it pans out. 9 is able to get himself the opening pick, and a couple do come back. So that's
Isu
good enough
कैसी हैं
for
आप
King
क्या
Zero.
हाल
They've
चाल है
smoked
दानिश
off
भाई कैसी हैं
GR.
सुनाएं क्या हो रहा है कहाँ
Should
से
be able to
हैं
get that plan down and play out the 3-on-3, but this now becomes really a must-win round, and Baisha decide they're going to go out in front of any potential plan here. Xiao and YDSS.
करे मैं लगा सब
Maybe
ठीक
one of
ठाक
Beast and Tom was watching the
मजे
flank when that happened, and that's exactly
DC
what
Pro
Baisha were
welcome
gambling on.
लाहौर आप में
As
बहावन
well,
लगे
but they
थे
didn't plant in amongst all of that. That's a ridiculous spam coming through from YDSS, and as you say, it throws Tong in a really uncomfortable position because
सुनाएं
not
क्या हो
only
रहा
has
है
he got to
क्या
find
चल रहा है खाना
out
शाना हो
where
गया
this C4 is, he's got to maybe plant, and by that point, they're trying to take the site, but Tong has the element of surprise. First kill belongs to him. 25 seconds, YDSS tries to close the gap, and it's Tong that goes to the sniper. It's a missed shot. And it's YDSS that not only closes the gap for Baisha by denying the bomb plant, but he's the one that claims the round for Baisha as they take another step forward across this dangerous path of Ankara.
I don't know what was happening for him there. Did he maybe lose where the bomb was? I thought it was pretty obvious that it was up the top.
It had to be up the top, because otherwise how's that player died?
Yeah, he was looking all over the place trying to find the bomb. I think he was trying to find the bomb, but either way.
Gun, maybe?
Maybe, but there was a gun underneath the stairs. So
कब से हो यार मुझे हो गए हैं 2.5-3 मंथ हो गए
yeah, it is quicker. Still going to find themselves outside of A, so it might not eventuate into anything actually here. King Zero's move through middle.
Is this the first definition of insanity now?
Yeah,
It's like
trying the same thing again.
Over and over
और
again.
सुनाएं क्या हो रहा है
At least the trades were good. They need to be even cleaner, straight through the smoke this time. But I tell you what, 577
Welcome
and
everyone,
9
follow
have done
कर
a
लेना
brilliant
guys,
job.
जिसने follow
And
नहीं किया
577 is just staying alive. And now everyone
सब
can come
ठीक है
forward. The
माशाल्लाह गुड
cavalry
अल्लाह खुश
arrives. So
रखे
Baisha and 577 is still here. Laya
क्या
able to
करते
get
हैं
a
दानिश
frag
भाई
back on that sniper. 2v3, player disadvantages, but maybe only for a moment. YF thrown into this really tricky clutch, has to get the C4 once more, but can't get by YDSS. 9-5 for Baisha.
Well, I think we're at that point now where we can all kind of agree that this comeback is not happening for King Zero in the second half. They have looked flat on the attack, as they did obviously on Black Widow as well, and they got, I guess, helped out by such a strong GR side on Black Widow, but didn't quite have that here on Ankara, and it seems like Baisha are well and truly poised to push this one through to a map 3. King Zero may be ruining that opportunity in an hour's time if they do end up dropping this series as a result. This should have been the perfect setup for them going into their map pick of Ankara, but it has changed up on their heads. Now YDSS tasked with a hold. They have neglected to clear hotel, and they've walked into a massive crossfire. King Zero have just gifted Baisha the victory on Ankara. It is over 10-5. And that opportunity that we talked about for King Zero to close this out 2-0, well, that has slipped by the wayside.
Not a single round, I want to say, in that second half as well for King Zero. Baisha looked like a team possessed in that Ankara. But for King Zero, a lot of work to do, a lot of stumbling blocks, especially on the offense, and that ultimately has led to the downfall in their series, not only just in rounds being dropped, but now in maps.
Yeah, 100%. I think King Zero were going to be pretty disappointed with that, but that doesn't necessarily matter. There's still a third map to get to, so we'll have to see how that plays out when we do get
welcome
to
Cherry. Landa Bazaar.
Play is in our DNA. Whenever we let it out, it becomes our superpower. Now imagine an entire city being built to supercharge it. Kadir City, powered by play.
Oh, we got a series on our hands. Baisha comes back on Ankara. 10-5. tying up the series 1-1, which means it comes down to Eagle Eye. Now, King Zero had all the confidence in the world after map number 1. They were feeling great, and in fact, they were looking great off the start. But then Baisha said enough is enough. They snapped back to take the win 10-5. What's Eagle Eye going to look like? None of us know until we see it, but it's going to be coming at you fast. Hey, welcome back into the Allianz Vault. I'm Taylor Reflections Noble, joined by Sneaky Frog and Lucy. Lucy, Baisha did it. They have come back. They have forced a game number 3.
Yeah, that's more the Baisha we expected to see. I think if there was a 2-0 here, it would have been very disappointing to get that from them out the gate. And I think we've seen a lot more of what we've expected, what we've seen throughout the entire season. Completely locked out. I loved watching their BL side, with how confident their site takes looked. It was just completely dismantling their opponents. And then, I mean, the second half was just complete lockout. It felt like there was nothing that they could do on that BL side when it came to KZ.
Yeah, I knew they were in trouble when I was listening to the casters, and they're saying, yeah, it's just not going to happen. This is over with. The comeback isn't in the bag. You were losing your mind several times throughout that game.
Yeah, I'm not going to lie. I'm really surprised that ICE is making the HK417 work, considering, the other teams or the other players are also kind of struggling with it. But at the same time, I did kind of see that coming, or rather kind of saw this coming from a mile away, considering Ankara is a lot more space to take for the side of KZ, which allows more opportunity for the side of Baisha to kind of move around the map. And, the person that I mentioned that had to step up to the plate, he did. I mean, YDSS performed really well in the map of Ankara, but at the same time, I feel like N9 started hearing what we were saying in the broadcast desk, and it seems like he kind of took it personally, and he just started frying everybody.
Yeah, those two were absolutely undeniable, right? Just like they could do nothing wrong. I think one of my favorite rounds in that entire map was over towards the A side. It was when the side had been taken. It was a 3-on-3, and Baisha, they're on the retake. They didn't even allow the bomb to go down, right? They just flashed through the smokes. They're getting aggressive ahead of it. So disruptive, and it just felt like KZ didn't get a chance to play their blacklist side.
Yeah, this kind of feels like it's kind of telling on the side of KZ, right? If they don't get early momentum, they're gonna start to crash and burn here, and it kind of took the effort of ICE and maybe some flanks here from XN, but some of the other players disappeared. Like I wanted to see more from Tong, especially, and more from 9U in this map, but it kind of seems like the Baisha pressure is too much, and it seems like they were just a bit cold during the first map.
Yeah, and I think, the Tong conversation's a big one because the snipers were quite prevalent from the side of Baisha, right? Like they were getting a lot of impact this round. They would just see there. Tong, I mean, that's a trade that he should be getting every day. The reback, that's a trade that he was getting on the map 1, just was a little bit absent here. And I think just in general, it really felt like this blacklist side was just stalled out. They could never really feel the comfort to go for what they wanted. We saw, these multiple A side hits where they just couldn't really successfully get in, but they just kept trying it. Just like they weren't able to find any solutions to get going.
Got a challenge. Who was the guy to step up if N9 is not performing well? Well, in this case, N9 did 16 total kills, but you also mentioned YDSS, the guy that needs to carry the torch rather. He does exactly that with 16 himself. Just a dominant performance overall. You look at the other side, XM with only 8s. Either way, man, when the scoreline is 10-5, you don't expect the scoreline to be that high for Baisha. But man, for the other side of King Zero. Great game though. And now you mentioned at least the momentum. When it's not going King Zero's way, they've got to pull them up from the bootstraps. Now they go into game 3, and I asked you before heading into map 2, if it does go to game 3, you actually favored King Zero. Do you still feel that way?
Yeah, I still do feel that Eagle Eye definitely could be easily taken here by King Zero, considering that we're going from a large map back to another small map once again, and it's going to be a whole lot more face-up fights for the side of Baisha Gaming, like similar to what we saw in map number 1. So if Baisha is not ready to go for the medium to close range fights at the start of the round, then they might drown in this one. But I feel like they can kind of take it now. I mean, N9's warmed up, YDSS is hitting a shot, Xiao just needs a bit more, and if we can see Baisha in full form, well, this could be scary.
We see them now in their dugout. This is a live view as they head back to the stage. Looks like they were chilling. Had a lot of food in there, man. Those guys have been eating good. They're about to eat even better if they can win this game number 3. Because, Lucy, what's at stake? To remind the viewers, right? Whoever wins this moves forward.
Yeah, straight through the playoffs, right? Obviously, first game here for Baisha too. They started off cold. That was a conversation we had coming into this, that KZ looked really good in their opening series, completely dominated. They come into this one, rip off the gate with a fantastic map 1. But now we're starting to see a bit more what we expected from this series. Baisha have warmed up into things. They're in their comfort zone. All the individuals online. I think we're getting the game that we deserved.
Yeah, I feel like Eagle Eye is definitely going to be a good test for both of these teams, right? Considering that, just like what I said, Eagle Eye is going to be very prevalent, especially when it comes to this meta, since, you know, not everyone likes New Mexico.
Good
At the very moment,
morning,
Eagle Eye is kind of the closest thing to a map that is as small but is more operable. So, yeah, both of these teams going to be tried and tested for it.
For sure, this is a big matchup indeed. You know, originally, King Zero, we were thinking maybe 2-0. I was thinking that anyways, but Baisha fight back in a big way, and now the momentum is arguably now on Baisha's side, despite Sneaky thinking King Zero is going to close it out in this game number 3. But the reality is, when N9 and YDSS start playing well, it's tough to shut them down.
Yeah, absolutely, and you know, they were just undeniable in that map too. And we look at how Eagle Eye 2.0 has played out this year for the two teams mentioned, right? It's been a bit of a coin flip, but they've always been quite dominant maps, to be honest. Like 10-5 was the most recent result. That was Baisha winning that outright, and yeah, it really does now worry me. Just given the momentum, it really feels like Baisha aren't slowing down, and these blacklist sides have been lackluster across both maps when it comes to KZ.
Sneaky, what's the game plan for King Zero? You clearly favor them map number 3. Who are they leaning on? Is it Ice once again? Will it be Tong? Who do we got?
I feel like it's going to come down to the snipers, because the snipers is very important, especially for openings here on Eagle Eye, whether we talk about top A, whether we talk about hotel, and the man who was just on our screen, Xiao Xiao, he has to step up to the plate, because if the snipers go really cold early, especially when it comes to defense, it's literally just a green light for the BL to just enter the site.
Well, it sounds like Tong and YF to me. They were running dual snipers map 1. Maybe they bring it back.
Yeah, honestly, YF is actually playing really, really well on that map 1. Felt like he was back into his primary sniping kind of form, right? Looked really good between the two of them, the way they were playing off each other. It was really difficult to break through. Don't think the dual snipers were as successful for Baisha, but they weren't really relying on it because they had the rifles playing so well.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, our first game 3 of the day for the first series. It's Baisha Gaming going against King Zero Esports. Who wants to move forward? Will it be Baisha? Will it be King Zero? Let's find out with B-Dog and Elfish Guy.
All on the line here at Eagle Eye 2.0. One of these teams qualifies through immediately. They just need to hit 10. And it is that double sniper setup, or maybe it's just the rifles of Ice finding the kills. And spinning round onto YDSS. That's a crazy shot.
Yeah, the pace just immediately picking up here from King Zero. Where was this on the last couple of maps? Completely caught Baisha off guard. They've got themselves a 5v3, although it's a tentative 5v3. A sliver away from death. So maybe Baisha can still find a way to put this round together. Nice is sticking around. He gets the better of 577 as well. He's a menace to start off round 1 here on Eagle Eye.
आपका भी लग सकता.
Hilariously,
हाँ, लेकिन वो कहते हैं ना कि sending लेके आओ, sending कहाँ से लेके आए? तो ये भी तो
coming into this game, there might have
अभी
been
21 million की sending कौन करेगा? वो भी लड़के को.
They actually might have let Ankara slip to work more on Black Widow and Eagle Eye 2.0. Like that genuinely might be the case. These players are low. Like I really don't want to rule Xiao out of this because maybe he can make things happen. If he could swap to rifles, but able to scoop that one up immediately, try and isolate one of these kills.
2 million में लग जाता है.
Down, but 9U will lock it in.
2 million में अगर लगता है वो तो मैं खुद ही मार लूँगा. पेड़ की भी ज़रूरत नहीं है.
That's what you want to see. King Zero getting that one
2
done
million
nice and quickly. Maybe the confidence is flowing here on Eagle Eye to start things off. Xiao. A real chance in the end in that.
यार अब ये तो पता नहीं है ना.
Don't imagine we're going to see rounds that quickly.
ये पता नहीं है ना. किसकी एजेंसी में है आप ट्विस्टो आप?
King Zero, and it does slow down initially here as well for round number 2. So pretty standard setups from King Zero. You've got 9U just sort of posted over it all day long, having a bit of a look there. XN set up in case there's a push down mid.
Okay, ट्विस्टो फॉलो बैक देना, पीके लगाएंगे फिर मुझे थोड़ी सी इंफॉर्मेशन देना, ठीक है?
Hotel as well. Very, very standard start to this round from both of these teams. Often what you'll sometimes see as well is
यार वो 21 million वाला चक्कर चलाते हैं, पता नहीं वो क्या है. 21 million कैसे बंदा पूछे करे.
dumping some util over towards A. It feels as though maybe Baisha
आप कह रही हैं 2 million में हो
about that
जाता
A
है.
hit. It's not yet come for King Zero, but that's a lot of the counter utility
21 million
out
और
of the
2
pockets of
million में बहुत
Baisha now.
फर्क है.
Maybe that's what King Zero were waiting for, because now they're picking up that base.
Double layering. They're right straight in towards this A bomb site. Lion's got to make ends meet and can't do it, but the swing from XN is just brilliant. Tong's providing supporting coverage, and King Zero straight into this bomb site. N9 for as good as he is, can't even find a kill. I love that. You're right. They
और
get the
twist तो
counter
क्या करती
utility
हैं
out, and then they go in again. This has been probably the most inspiring rounds I've seen on the BL side from King Zero all series. We've only had 2 of them.
Yeah, I mean, they have looked very shaky on the BL side. I think it is
मतलब के बैकग्राउंड वगैरह कैमरे की क्वालिटी वगैरह ये चीजें अच्छी हो
they got,
लग
I think,
जाती
none on Ankara, actually. I'm pretty sure it was a 5-4 half for them on GR. So they've had 2 maps. They've had now 5 rounds, actually, on the BL side. Trade is there for XN.
है शारी
That's all good.
वेलकम शारी
Meanwhile, 9, I mean, he's, I guess this is 9 in a nutshell. He likes to make these unorthodox plays. He's just pushed through his own smoke at the bottom of B long, and he's going to try and catch a timing into middle. He's going to need to move quickly, though, because King Zero are already picking the pace up.
लड़कियों के मजे हैं नई आईडी बनाई है न्यू आईडी है फौरन लग जाता है
He's played against 9 a bunch of times. Meanwhile,
आपको कितना टाइम हुआ
shots
है
again over towards A, and that is going to bring this round
अरहम
into
वेलकम ब्रो
disrepute for Baisha. They don't even really need to contest him. They could just take that bomb over to B, but they're going to try to fight him, and they eventually do find that trade.
Look at the timeout being called immediately.
3-0 start. I mean, if you don't call the timeout here and these rounds continue this quickly, like, we could blink and be at a sort of 5-0, 6-0 deficit at that point. So I kind of get it. Like, I understand what you're saying, that it is very early, but these rounds are also progressing pretty quickly. So you want to slow that momentum down a little bit and just give Baisha a chance to kind of think and reset here, it would seem.
Yeah, I actually
कौन
about
माजी
it
हेलो
now, because what the coach could be saying is just to chill out a little bit and settle.
अच्छा
That's not
उसका नाम
only when it
समीर
comes to
जान था
positioning,
मैंने
and obviously you've got the N9 push in this round, but it's also about holding on to your utility.
ये भी ठीक
Because
है
we've already seen in the second round that they were really jumpy. It does feel like Baisha were really quick to react to things when they're just playing into the hands of King Zero, especially in that previous round. So, yeah, do you know what? Fair enough. I like the fact that they've called this timeout here. The fact that the timeouts are very extended in
यार क्या
CROSSFIRE
करोगे
as well, just means
दोस्त
that
बन
you've
के
got
यार छोड़ो यार
a bunch of time just to reset the situation. You almost can go again. You can play like it is 0-0.
देवल भाई दोस्त
and
बन
maybe
के
then
क्या
just
करोगे
build into this eagle eye. But the fact that the BL sides have not looked good at the King Zero at the start of 3-0, that is dangerous. That is very dangerous for Baisha.
Yeah, absolutely.
तलवारें आपस
Momentum,
पे यार
obviously, on Black Widow as well. When King Zero got rolling, it
देवल
was
भाई
very
आप किस
difficult
मूड
for
से आए हैं यहाँ
Baisha
पे
really to do
पोपो
anything
पे
to
मतलब कि क्या
force their
करना
way
चाह
back
रहे हैं
into that map.
होस्टिंग करना चाह रहे हैं सेंडिंग करना चाह रहे हैं फिर मैं आपको एक अच्छा मशवरा दूंगा उस हिसाब से
I was a little bit tired, maybe. I mean, it's not exactly early. It's actually midday here in Paris. But as far as that time zone is concerned, for these guys having come from all the way over in Asia, and I'm the same. My time zone right now is probably about 7:30 p.m.
मैं ये नहीं पूछ रहा कि कहाँ से आए
So that could be affecting them potentially.
मैं ये नहीं पूछ रहा ब्रो मैं ये पूछ रहा हूँ कि आप क्या करना चाह रहे हैं पोपो पे मतलब कि लाइक होस्टिंग करनी है आपने या सेंडिंग करनी है या वैसे ही आए हैं घूमने फिरने फिर आपको अच्छा मशवरा दूंगा मैं
in Europe in years. You know, never in North America either. So as far as time zone shifts are concerned, it's typically the other teams that are having to deal with it rather than these teams coming through from CFPL. Maybe not something that they're super familiar with and used to. King Zero handling it better at the moment, it would seem, at least on Eagle Eye. Set up towards middle, grenade out. Just a little bit chip damage onto Ice. Reserved kind of hold this time for Baisha back towards their A site, but that might work out because that's exactly where King Zero are going to be headed. Try and find those entries.
अगर आपने सेंडिंग करनी है सेंडर बनना है फिर तो ठीक है पोपो क्योंकि यहाँ पे कॉइन सस्ते हैं अगर आपने होस्ट बनना है फिर भी ठीक है क्योंकि यहाँ पे टैग लग जाता है सही अगर आप वैसे ही आए हैं घूमने फिरने के लिए फिर नहीं ठीक आपके लिए फिर आप डिलीट करके ना कोई पार्टी ऐप डाउनलोड करें पार्टी ऐप डाउनलोड करें वहाँ जाएं वहाँ पे फ्रेंड्स ही फ्रेंड्स
So at least he can do that and put this into a 1v1, but it's going to be very difficult. Tong needs to hit his shot instantly, otherwise he's a dead man walking, and all of this nice positioning from King Zero would have all been in vain, but of course Tong hits the shot, gets a nice angle on YDSS. King Zero will keep on pushing the needle further into qualifying through out of the groups here at EWC.
That's crazy from YDSS though, isn't it? Like, he doesn't even... I don't feel like he doesn't even try to make it difficult there for Tom. He's like, okay, I'm here.
अपने
I'm
फीड
just
उसके
going to
जा
run
रही
the
है
A side. And you're going to be
जन्नत वेलकम
exactly where you
जन्नत
expect me to be. He doesn't go for a flank through middle. He doesn't even just slow things down a little bit to sort of throw an element of doubt in the mind. He just full sent it and hoped that Tong was going to watch
तेरा
somewhere else.
कुंडा ही
but
टूट जाना मेरा
not the
बहुत
case. And so 4-0 lead on the board here for King Zero. Baisha have already used their attack timeout. This is pretty dire straits for them.
It's FK. Welcome everyone.
I think that in the last round as well, that was another instance of N9 getting time-in and Ice being allowed
Receiving
to have the
gifts.
opportunity. Saw it on
मतलब
Black
कि आप
Widow.
live करना
Now see
चाह
it
रहे हैं.
here on Eagle Eye 2.0, 577. In a little bit of stress, but that's okay. There are teammates to back him up over towards the left-hand side of the map. And for KZ, it's another slow stage in as they just try to get rid of N9 over
आप
a
पहले
B.
5 लेवल करें ना आपने अगर आपने लाइव ऑन करनी है पहले 5 लेवल करें परचेजिंग करें 3000 की परचेजिंग करें लाख कॉइन आएगा 3000 का ठीक है उसके बाद वो सेंड करें मुझे कर दें या किसी को भी कर दें सेंड ठीक है आपका लेवल अप हो जाएगा लेवल अप होने के बाद आप लाइव आ सकते हैं आपकी लाइव ऑन हो जाएगी फिर आप अपना टाइम दें इधर
Again, how much can you really infer from that? You're not expecting King Zero to play too quickly.
गिफ्ट मारेगा सही है नहीं मारेगा तब सही है मसला नहीं
Are you just up? This is now gets really interesting because you've actually left a deep space there. XN will just go, and instead that's the push in towards middle. Is there a trade? Yes, there is out of YF. But getting this bomb back can be tricky, especially over 40 seconds left. With Shao then finding the kill on towards Tong. This gets trickier and trickier here for KZ.
मार दे मेहरबानी है ना मारे तामी मेहरबानी है
N9 ducking his head back down, but YDSS found and N9 when he's alone, that spot becomes much more untenable. Now all of a sudden with 20 seconds left, if King Zero make the right call, they can win this round, but they might go right into Leah, who could double down. He's stuck in the corner there. Eventually finished off by YF, but he needs to find a way to get a plan, and he's not going to be able to do it in time. If he pushes right into Shao.
ਇਹ ਬਾਵਾ ਆਪਾਂ ਗਲਤ ਲਾਈਨ ਤੇ ਪੀ ਕੇ ਲਾ ਰਹੇ ਆ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਲੱਗਦਾ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਬਰੋਡ ਬੰਦ ਕਰਕੇ ਆਣੀ ਪੈਣੀ ਹੈ ਸੌਰੀ नेट चला गया था कहां चला गया था नेट
That's a mishap.
That's a nice round out of Baisha to recognize actually that with the extremity pushes that mid's going to be a lot more open for business. YF is now going to be careful with N9 throwing nades through the window. But it's still faster. Out of King Zero, and we've seen this only in round 1. We haven't seen the scaling yet. Out of King Zero. Finally, we get to see it. The spam on the smoke, not connecting anything, but it gives a lot of intent over, and it gives a lot of info.
नहीं पता चलता ना लड़कियों का
to Baisha.
ये ऊपर बैरी बैठी है ये चोरी का नेट चलाती है
Does BL side now reset and looking
ये
towards
ऊपर जो बैरी बैठी है ना ये भी चोरी का नेट चलाती है
undone by this push again, but it didn't happen at 1 minute 50. It happened at 30 seconds.
I don't think it's going to happen at 1 minute 40 or 1 minute 30 or 1 minute 20 or 1 minute 10. The way things are going right now for King Zero, they're really enjoying waiting down that time up. You can just see from the positions that they're playing, they're really not invested in anything just yet. So reserved. And maybe it's a case of once bitten, twice shy, right? They've seen Baisha in the late mid-round kind of make that push into middle, essentially win the round off the back of it. And now King Zero are thinking, okay, well, they could do that again. So we better hold for that. Now it'll be a mid push, so whether it's a mid to B or a mid to A.
उसका नेट नहीं चल रहा इसलिए वो तीन मैचेस एक साथ आ रहे हैं.
Good shot in onto YDSS, like you say, and they just decide that they're gonna group their way up and potentially bully their way down A long for the attempted entry.
Oh, I don't mind it. YF has also seen players, not only Liar, but also 577 just in the sight, but 577's holding on. Needs to get that trade. YF will, and then
नहीं उन्होंने टावर कर लगाया होता है क्या साहब टावर कर लग गया
in the 1 versus 3. I feel like you got no hope in this round if you're the sniper here for Baisha.
Oh, he's hoping for a little bit of a mistake there, and Tong gives it right to him. There's a lot of angles that can
कोई
actually
दुआ
see
करो
onto
साडी
the A
ब्रोड
side
कोई
from across the other side of the map.
18 प्लस तो थल्ले आवे इतने तो बहुत कम खराब
That's
जी
the first pick that he needs. 1v3 on offer, typical Shao fashion.
ओए ना साडी रेल गड्डी गलत ट्रैक पे चढ़ी हुई
showing, and there is the swing. That will be the end of Shao.
Aryan
So 5-1, a little bit of a mishap in that last round for Baisha.
Welcome everyone.
For King Zero, but Baisha are not able to actually capitalize on it and put anything really together. This is still progressing pretty nicely for King Zero at the moment.
Scary how good this kid is for King Zero as well. Ice instantaneous.
मैं कब से वेट कर रहा था आपके साथ पीके लगे
There we go. It is quick, but it is the sniper finding purchase first. 577 overwhelmed. And 9 needs to get a multi, but can't do it. And yet again, King Zero overwhelmed. They always seem to have this player advantage. They've got full coverage of the site. The bomb can make its way. Red carpet rolled out as YDSS goes on the quick flank.
Xiao's on the line again, trying to see if he can find a pick on that top side, but
भाई
hasn't been
अपनी डेल गड्डी गलत ट्रैक पे चढ़ी है.
Still just getting tossed around right now by King Zero. They're not getting that quick plant down, that's for sure. And oh, YF, that is a little bit scary. Eventually gets Xiao off of his post and able to get the plant down.
Hello,
YDSS has been cleared out by Ice. So again, comes down to Xiao in a 1v3, and this one doesn't even get as close as the last. 6-1. King Zero are styling on Baisha at the moment.
I really like in the variety of the aggression, because it's actually the same destination every time, but the manner in which they do it when it comes to scaling just up that A corridor has just been relentless from KZ. And yeah, sure, Zhao's been having opportunities to get these like really deep crosses, but that's only when the damage has already been done. I think King Zero have done an immaculate job at keeping this AWPer at arm's reach. And now you've got the secondary sniper on A locking things down, but this condition's already been created here. If you're King Zero, you do not need to go back in towards A for the rest of the half if you don't want to. And you got a feeling your spidey sense will be going off at some point that N9 will start pushing B, because again, he's not really been involved in this deciding match.
No. Yeah, he is the kind of guy, you know, in his heyday that would always seem to find the timings, but has been few and far between today as well for him. Xiao keeping watch on middle. He's going to be flashed off that line, and here comes the rest of King Zero to little success. N9 this time is there.
असल में उसने आपका नेम देख के ना ये सवाल किया, मतलब उसने समझा कि शायद मैं भी आपको ये अमल शमल करती हूँ.
At a very necessary time, Tong dealt with XN alone. It wasn't quite the rampage towards the finish line for King Zero maybe in this half that they wanted it to be, but they could still find themselves a 7-2.
That she spoke about N9.
इसका नेट खराब है मुझे लग रहा है.
Actually be in towards middle when that hit comes in, because the flashbang was brilliant to get the sniper off the angle, but N9 not affected by it because he comes around the corner a second later.
सर बैकअप नहीं चाहिए सर.
It was 2 and 7. Now his scoreline looks a lot more respectable.
7 deaths, 6 kills,
तरीका
4, 5,
दस रहा है
7, 7.
किस तरह बैकअप लेना.
Although he's going to go up to 8 as he starts this round off with a deficit. That is a poor spot to be in. Push coming through, XN catching 577, so he will join. Unfortunately, it's not what you want. It's not what we want.
This is a nice pivot. You've just got entries on both sides of the map. You've been leaning A lot more than B in this first half, so it makes sense just to cut out the middleman. Go back in towards this B bomb site. And sure, you've got a sniper that's holding the angle here for GR, but 9U is just taking all of this direct space. And he's got a player with him in case things get a little bit crazy. You can afford to do this. You can just push because you've got the numbers advantage.
Oh, well. 9U. Oh, and Ice falling at the hands of Leah. Eventually does get traded back on down. The number's still going to prevail, but there was a moment of hope there for Baisha.
That second shot was ridiculous.
Yeah. Well, IDSS, let's see what he can put together. He's just going to have to send it straight into this side. They do line up, but can't spray them both down. 7-2, and the last time we saw a 7-2 half favoring King Zero, it was a 10-4 win there on Black Widow. So that's got to be weighing on the back of the mind here of Baisha.
And that was all on defense. King Zero done their best work on defense all series long. They've now given themselves a ridiculous buffer of rounds. And if Baisha weren't sweating before, it's certainly going to be a really tricky task if they're up for it. And we know that they can be up for it. Look at Zhao just trying to fight because Tong's pushed. And there we go. Maybe it's a little bit too aggressive for King Zero as they've been shut down and cut to shreds in round 10. It's a statement of intent here for Baisha. We will not go down easy.
Yeah, I've always felt that Baisha have been a very strong team and a stronger team. when they play that faster style. I feel like that's where they play their best game. It seems like that element of their game has been sort of put on the back burner, I think, a little bit more in the last sort of 12, 18 months in general compared to the peak period of Baisha. But every now and then you get a flash of it, a glimpse at a round like that. And that's where it looks so impressive. YF just going to take the opportunity here to use this as maybe a free tack timeout. Chill out on the other side of the map. C4 ticks away, and King Zero can have a chat about what went wrong. Maybe in that round they had players set up where they needed them, but Baisha able to overwhelm the majority of those duels.
Carla, चंगी तरह करके.
Well, it's not so much to save necessarily, is it? But
यार,
just an opportunity to chat. Early days in this half, though, for King Zero. So not too much you can read into. I don't expect you're going to get every round being that quick from Baisha. So probably still want to opt for something a little more standard if you're King Zero, rather than starting to make adaptations off just one round.
Remember that they've been so good at being patient, and that's the round they switch it. YF drops a smoke at an appropriate time. So a line in the sand drawn at least towards
यार टट्टी करना गलत तो नहीं है. नहीं भाई करो, खोल के करो भाई.
Just drop the nade. That's brilliant.
सारे नु आंदी है, नेचुरल है
He
भाई.
loses half his HP instantly.
गलत शॉट थोड़ी है.
Shao watching for any potential aggression here from King
करनी
Zero.
चाहिए, नहीं तो बंदा मार जाता भाई.
Doesn't even manage to
भाई बंदा मार जाता ही ना आवे दे, पता ही. गैस दिमाग नु चढ़ जाती है.
They lose a couple of players early on in the piece, and this attempt in towards B. Well, it's going to be against a full King Zero lineup as that rotate is coming through. YF
किधर गया शाह?
also falling, and Tong can't double down as well.
शाह
I mean, King Zero, they just stood and tried to deliver, but they didn't deliver anything. Baisha.
हाँ ना बंदा मार जाता भाई, जरूरी है.
On ice, and he's also going to
वाम
fall.
हासली
What a fumble from
वाम
King Zero.
हासली है.
They had it. They had the opening kill on the sniper, on the lurk.
समर कब्ज तो नहीं है कि तुम दांते कब्ज कुब्ज होए तुम दवाई दे दिए.
Somehow they managed to find a way to make those fights one-on-ones. Like I don't know how they aren't peaking together. There was no trading whatsoever. That is a disaster. That is a nightmare of a round that King Zero wants to forget. And Baisha think, well, this is so good, we're going to run it right back.
Yeah, it might be doable now in the minds of Baisha as they've put together
Sky Girl. Hello, Sky Girl.
7-4 feels a far cry from 7-2. Another 1 or 2 rounds here on Baisha. Already getting within striking distance of King Zero's scoreline. So I don't think we can count our chickens before they hatch. So it's looking like a great start for King Zero.
This is nice out of King Zero, actually taking a push in towards A, taking this deep space. It looks like it's been held for, though, by Zhao.
If they go any further, you wouldn't really expect them to push any more.
You don't need to, though. You're right. Like, you can just rotate players away now, so you can reinforce this B bomb site because you've got this deep lurking element of XN. Mid might be the concern later, but for now, Nearly gets caught off guard, has to drop his utility and back out.
That's all that Baisha was looking for. They're not here to commit to this B site just yet.
It's a ton of grenades that have just been dropped as a consequence as well for King Zero. You got the flashbang, you had the HE, and you had the smoke.
Got a minute and a half still on the clock there for Baisha when they initially draw out that util from King Zero. Now letting it tick down a little bit longer. They start to dump a little bit over the top of B and see if they can again pull out some of that.
It's going to
be a double pump here from Baisha. There's really not a whole lot left for King Zero. XN is the one with the sizable amount of util, but he's on the rotate, so it's going to come down to the gunplay here for King Zero. They need to make it work when the hit comes. Baisha now on their way in through that smoke. It's a 1 for 2 and eventually starting to get pulled back in. Nice flash does slow down the progression of Baisha, and with that C4 dropped on the site, they will have to commit their way forward into King Zero's hold. Zhao for the 1-on-3, can't get it done again. As Tong will finish it. Gets it up to 8 for King Zero.
I'll tell you what a really timely rotation as
well for King Zero.
That player that they had just lurking in the depths of A the entire time actually comes over as that second flight of utility is in motion. It was XN that then has this really tight little crossfire by the cable car and just gives King Zero enough squeeze of the juice in round 12 to make it that 8-4. And now deep nades are going to push King Zero back even more. They're trying to trade the utility. Tom's on a crazy angle as 9U gets up close with their 9. And the flashbang, whilst it doesn't affect him, it doesn't affect his lead.
Yeah, Tong as well. Should be good for one, but doesn't manage to land the shot, and so he gets overwhelmed. Now 9U and XN have to work in tandem. The reload is awkward. I mean, so much damage done to Leah and 577, but no confirmation on the kill. YF's now going to get himself up into tower and see if he can cause a ruckus on that potential plan, which he does. Leah down. And Ice as well chiming in. We're back to a 2-on-2. 577 obviously still tagged up. Advantage King Zero, one might argue, but time now favoring Baisha as the King Zero duo link back up at the bottom of long. Start to work their way towards the site.
And you know they always do this. You know they always group up and link together, and that's why 577 has pushed the issue in towards middle. This is such a supreme flank, and he's going to be able to get rid of YF. Leaves it all onto the Star Rifler, the Prodigy, here at EWC, but he can't get the kill whatsoever. YDSS locks it in. Really good initiative there by Baisha to understand the tendencies of King Zero and to punish them as they try and retake the site.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't think you can be too critical about that 2-on-2 for King Zero. I think where that round actually does fall apart is the initial defense. Tong are not able to land a shot. Okay, that's fine, but even with that crossfire that was established for King Zero, you'd think that they should be able to find themselves a little bit more than they did. Put it a little bit too far out of the realms of possibility in what was ultimately a 4v2 for King Zero there. So just need to be a little bit cleaner with the shots on the hold, and that would have been 9 on the board and series point now pressuring Baisha, but not to be. So instead, we're going to get that tactical pause through here from King Zero. Maybe starting to feel a little bit of the pressure and taking the opportunity to have their own reset at an 8-5 scoreline where things are still not looking too bad. I mean, this is still King Zero's series to lose, but Baisha are definitely circling like sharks in the water.
And they are knocking on the door, right? It's not like they've not been competitive in these rounds. Like, again, that was a 4-on-2 that then evolves into a 2v2 at one stage for King Zero. It's not like they're just rolling over and allowing Baisha to get these rounds back without consequence. Like, there is a challenge in every single one of these. These are mentally taxing rounds for Baisha. Your back is still well and truly up against the wall. I just say, Elfish, definitely King Zero's map and series to lose at this point. But if there's one team that's got all the experience, the one team that has done it time in, time out, especially on an international stage, that team is Baisha.
Yeah, 100%. Again, you look at the super experienced players in this lineup of N9 and Xiao, 577. They have won on the global stage many a time. This one becoming a little bit more of a difficult story for them. EWC has never necessarily been kind for them, although there has only been one EWC CROSSFIRE, which was last year, so give them the benefit of the doubt. It's not as if they've had a huge number of opportunities.
Close ID. ID क्यों close है भाई? ID close करके आप open करके बैठे हुए हैं यार.
That gets you a little bit nervy for YF, but at least he's taking like a much more passive angle. King Zero reverting back to what works well for them, which is just playing on the sites directly, playing off of forward sight lines. They're relying a lot on their control. These fake smokes out towards A aren't going to do anything. Like, they understand what's going on here, surely. Yep. If I'm King Zero, though, I'd be rotating an extra player to B.
At the moment, they're more than happy to rely on YF's prowess.
यार मैं स्पीकर मंगाया सीगा आया नहीं हाले तक यार
Be misplaced.
बंदा गाना शाना प्ले कर लेंदा
यार their way up. His timing is critical on this peak. He gets two. Oh, he gets a collapse. Oh, okay. Well, that's one way to win a round. It's just over before it begins.
Just hits the collateral. Tongs then on the deep angle, watching towards mid, and the split falls foul. And in fact, it's going to be the double snipers, one that the desk alluded to for Eagle Eye 2.0, potentially having the most significant impact in this game. As it's collateral impact for YF. And maybe one of the final nails in the coffin for this qualification series for Baisha. It looks like they're going to have to do it the hard way here at EWC. As King Zero now have 5 chances to try and close this. To try and put themselves in towards the playoffs here in Paris.
That's a very tough ask here for Baisha. King Zero teetering on the precipice
फ्रेंड
of
ने
being the first
बोला
team through to those playoffs indeed.
क्या करने आए हो जान या आप यहाँ पे करने क्या आए
Switch up as well from YF. It's now even more aggressive in towards B. You think it's so emboldened because you got that collateral kill. They won't go here again, he says, and he's bang on the money. 3 players are now over towards A, and that's exactly where Baisha are.
Yeah, flashes going out as well from King Zero, trying to slow
Either
things down.
host.
Baisha
Ting.
inevitably going to have to make their move. They're tossing their util forward, smoking.
Hosting लेनी हो तो
Baisha need to make their entries work out.
किसकी एजेंसी में आप एजेंसी ज्वाइन किया गया आपने
Just yet, still rampaging his way onto the site and eventually falling all
I
on the
am
shoulders
girl.
now
Okay,
of Xiao in the
okay.
1v3 to try to save the game for Baisha. And so far, he's had a couple of
ये
attempts
कौन
at these
सा
1-on-3s, and he has
यार,
not won any of
अच्छा।
them. YF from behind will put him down, and it will be King Zero to take the first spot in the playoffs of EWC CROSSFIRE 2026.
Hello,
What a journey
bye-bye.
for King Zero as well, and it feels like they've made one here. Again, a big novel
But
in this
name
best of
doesn't
3,
mean-
because you start off strong. In the middle, it's incredibly weak. And
तो
your
अपना
BL
नेम
side
लिखे
was
ना अपना
lacking.
नेम
Yet
नहीं
here
लिखना
on
तो
the
कोई
Eagle
निक
Eye
नेम
2.0,
लिखे ना
it felt like they
लड़कियों वाला तो
worked
निक नेम
through
लिखे
all of the changes. They came out stronger, and Baisha
तो अब change
now
होगा भी
sent
नहीं
scrambling. Their first official game here at EWC ends in a loss to domestic competition, and they are
ID की
now one
face verification
series
कर ली
away
आपने
potentially from being eliminated. They were runners-up last year.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, look, it may be a little bit more reminiscent potentially for Baisha of their run at CFS 2025 rather than EWC 2025, where they actually got grouped, and that would have been a little bit awkward. But either way, that's enough from us. We have to hand it down to the stage for an interview with King Zero.
ये फूल सेल करना मैंने सायरा G333 जियो सायरा वो कह रही है फॉलो कर लो
Okay, and just like that, King Zero is able to get it done. First and foremost, Baisha defeated you in CFPL just a couple of weeks ago in Grand
दिल बन
Finals.
गए हैं भाई
Now you got revenge. How does it feel to get revenge on such a big stage?
在这个月的时候，当时在 CFL 的总决赛里面，白沙是曾经击败过你们，
ये एंड
然后
तक
现在
easy
上了
भाई
一个复仇赛，然后
एंड तक easy
击败了他们，那现在感觉怎么样呢？
感觉很开心吧，在
एंड
CFL
तक easy
决赛
भाई
里清算我们一次了，这次轮到我们清算了。
I mean, it feels absolutely amazing. Yes, we did lose to them back in the
Buriya.
CFL finals, but we absolutely whooped their asses here today.
Okay, talk your talk. And now you're officially qualified for the playoffs here at the Esports World Cup. How excited are you and your teammates?
你们现在是成功晋级到了后面的淘汰赛了。你们现在队内的氛围怎么样？你们感觉怎么样呢？
分内那个队内氛围挺好的，然后我们每个人感觉快乐游戏嘛。
Everyone is really happy about it. The atmosphere in their team is really good. I'll say that right now we're just enjoying the game.
Okay, and just last thing, that came down to the end. You ended up having to clutch out. How did you guys clutch it out after it was 1-1?
कुछ भी नहीं आप लाइव आ जाएं लाइव आ सकती हैं आप
就白沙当时也是1-1追平了你们，然后包括最后一场也算是打得比较焦灼一点，比较黏一点。那当时你们是怎么相当于是成功的胜出的呢？
我们就比较干脆的嘛，然后做好赛前的针对
你
Well, we did do a lot of preparation, pre-game preparation.
ये ऊपर आईडी बैरी नाम की आईडी पड़ी है उसको फॉलो कर लो
And I'll say that just in terms of the game itself, we were just simply more decisive when it came to executing those strategies.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, and
वो
of
करवा
course
दीजिए
that
आपको जल्दी से जल्दी
preparation clearly has paid off as King Zero officially have punched their ticket into the
बैरी नेम
playoffs.
लिखा होगा बैरी ये मैसेज आया नीचे शाह किधर गया ही
Play is in our DNA.
ये नेम अभी चेंज नहीं होगा और अभी नहीं होगा एक आईडी कब बनाई थी ये थोड़े दिनों तक होगा नेम चेंज नहीं आप कैम के साथ लाइव आना चाहते हैं
King Zero might have stumbled in map 2, but they picked themselves up in map 3 to move forward to the playoffs. Our first team to punch their ticket to do so. King Zero, undeniable. We talked about Ice and how good he is. Ice in his veins, especially towards the ends. And Sneaky, that interview. He's talking trash already. He's already getting his screen time. We compare him to N9. Ice already making a name for himself.
Yeah, for sure. He's starting to, I mean, I already love the player Ice because, you know, I love myself some really good rookies, especially riflers, but man, if he's also capable of talking trash and backing it up, he might be up there with one of my favorites now. And Ice, I mean, he deserves it. He deserves to talk all that, you know, talk all that smack because he played that good. I mean, he's one of the few players right now who can actually use the HK417 the way it's intended to be used, headshots, taps, and everything. It's just impressive.
And debut international series or day as well. It's been brilliant to watch from him. I also like in the interview he kind of talked about the decisiveness in that map 3, and we really got to see it there, right? Especially on that blacklist side after their woes on it throughout the series so far. That final map, they looked so calm, composed, knew exactly what they wanted to do, and you could really see that contrast with Baisha, especially on the backlist. There's that moment when they're trying to execute into B, and like they were stalled out. They walked into a 5-man stack. It really did feel like they outplayed them.
Yeah, a lot of questions, at least in my mind personally. King Zero, how would they snap back going into game 3? Sneaky, you believed in them the entire time. Let's go to round 3, however, and watch a critical moment where King Zero is able to take a 3-0 lead. What do we witness?
Yeah, I mean, this is the capabilities of KZ, right? You know, despite you know, having not so stellar of a start to the round, they're also capable. They're not just a one-gear team. You know, they can also kind of peel it back at the same time, and N9 obviously recognizing that they have to play a bit more risky in this one. But XN reading the read in the process, getting the flank going, and it just fell apart for Baisha. Everybody just started pushing forward because they're just losing players one by one, and the numbers really didn't go their way, and it seems like the pressure is just a bit too much. And look at that, they're not even pushing forward. They're forcing Baisha to play their game.
Yeah, I think there was multiple cases of this right on this GSI where I feel like Baisha was so uncomfortable. I think the only 2 rounds that kind of came through for them was one where they got super disruptive in towards middle. They were kind of pushing under the watchtower. They had multiple players pushing through and trying to cut off the rotations. And then, the other round, I think, was just required a multi-kill. I think it was a quad kill coming through from N9. Like, those are the only 2 big moments that really feel like they were in control in that first half at all.
We don't have a replay, I don't think of it, but I at least want to give Baisha some flowers. Xiao Xiao hitting that nasty snipe earlier or later on in the game, I shall say. We lost our minds when he did so.
Oh yeah, for sure, and it just goes to show that Xiao Xiao is still definitely a dangerous man, despite losing in this series. You know, I feel like Baisha, if they get a bit more warmed up, they're going to be the scariest team in the lower bracket, in my opinion.
No, absolutely. I mean, you can kind of write this one off right first stage game that they'll have a chance to bounce back, and I think the bracket also will favor them when it gets down to that. So this is probably the hardest game they'll have until they get to playoffs, if they get to playoffs. But I think, you know, we talked about the snipers. The best sniper in the server isn't even a primary sniper. It was YF. He was brilliant, hitting every single shot on map 1, and that third map, I think he was the top player in the server.
Yeah, going into what brought them up to round 9 wins, at least, for King Zero. It was YF and Tong, and they had this double snipe moment that was disgusting. I think YF hits like 3 shots, right? And then it was finished off by his teammate of Tong, 3-4 dead
Sam,
instantly
welcome,
on
Sam.
Baisha's side.
Yeah, it's brilliant to watch, right? Considering, Tong has taken over that primary sniping role. We really praised him coming into this series too, particularly because of how he was performing yesterday. You had that statement performance on sub-base. But it just shows how much they can rely on the still sniper setup. Like, it's not a weakness for them. It's a real strength.
Yeah, it is nice to have on your team, especially that YF can switch from like elite sniping mode to elite rifling mode. You can kind of have a lot of variety, especially when it comes to strategy and especially when it comes to defenses, right? I mean, Tong is already a good sniper in itself, and even if you kill him, there's still the YF option. He can just drop his gun and still be just as good.
That's fair. Tactical pauses, they're critical, Lucy, when it comes to, regaining composure, getting your feet back underneath you. Often, I think every single game that we had, both tactical pauses were used for each side, right? More so, I think, for Baisha, especially in that game number 3, very early, after just round 3, Baisha said enough. We got to call a tactical pause. We got to try to get anything going.
Yeah, and it didn't really give them that, right? Like, they were looking for that moment to reset the momentum, and the rounds they came really scrappily. It was really spread apart. They weren't able to get any sort of consistency going, and you kind of expect a little bit more out of them, especially utilizing that resource.
Yeah, for sure. For Baisha, though,
This
was their first match at EWC, and they unfortunately fall flat. King Zero played so incredibly well. You could argue, though, Baisha, Ankara, come on, they look incredible there. King Zero need to work on it for sure, but King Zero, the absolute best team. Again, a rematch here for King Zero. They get revenge. They just played so very well. We talk Ice, we talk Tong, we talk YF, but as a team as a whole, what do they do that's special that Baisha just could not battle against?
It seems like the faster pace of the game in general, right? I feel like I've said this in the last C Masters that I feel like CROSSFIRE could be dead at this point, but then Rock did win their CFBL, so I kind of had a bit of doubts in my head, but now I kind of see them, kind of struggling at the start of the series, and now we see Baisha, who's more on the delay kind of strategy instead of the KZ being a lot more proactive, being a lot more assertive when it comes to map control, right? So I feel like this is definitely KZ being a lot more ahead on the curve in terms of the meta, at least.
Well, Baisha might have lost. They dropped down to the lower bracket, but they're not out just yet. Their key will not be crushed today, but tomorrow it might if they don't win their second series. It's much needed for sure, but they find themselves, just like in this moment, 1 series away from moving forward into playoffs. So if you're a Baisha fan, still support them. They've got a lot of chances to still make it forward. Now, YDSS is a phenomenal player. The one that picks up the slack when N9 is dropping the ball. And Salvatore, the chance to catch up with YDSS after their loss.
In a shocking turn of events, Baisha Gaming bowed out against King Zero 2-1, and we have here YDSS to talk about the game and what happened because of the game. So, YDSS, can you tell us what happened in Eagle Eye? How did KZ get the better of you?
YDS 能不能跟我们大概也说一下刚才那一把，包括是尤其是鹰眼那张图上面到底发生了些什么？就是为什么当时你们失利了呢？
鹰眼就是咱们在 A 区的防守没有做到很好，然后 A 区对手的进攻铺开道具之后，咱们的防守有点吃力，然后守不住。
I said the main issue, especially with Eagle Eye, was our A-side defense. I think that we weren't able to execute it properly, especially in the face of some of their utility usage. The moment they threw out all the utility, we found it very hard to defend A-side, and they're just able to very successfully attack it over and over again.
Yeah, we do hope for the following game that Baisha Gaming will do a better job in their next series. So, was there any particular player in King Zero that you had a hard time dealing with, especially with map number 1 and map number 3?
那也希望你们后面能做出相应的调整，然后后面也打得更好。然后当时 KZ 尤其是图1、图3的时候，有没有哪位选手你们当时是对你们来说特别棘手的呢？
因为对面5位都是 CFPL 赛区非常优秀的选手嘛，然后打他们每一位选手，咱们都会要谨慎和小心。然后 YF 在这场发挥非常好吧。
Well, all of them are CFPL Grand Finalists, and they are all very, very individually skilled players in their own right. So we have to be extremely careful against every single one of them. But if I had to pick one, I would say that it's YF. He's definitely performed very, very well this game.
Well, YF's TRG was just phenomenal in game number 3, so I couldn't blame my friend YDSS for that. So now your celebration will be halted as you were not able to qualify for playoffs just yet, but hopefully your next series will be the one to take it home for CFPL. So the question is now for YDSS, what is your plan now moving forward for the team?
虽然你们现在还未能晋级到后面的淘汰赛，但是你们还有一次机会。那你们现在战队能不能跟我说一下你们现在的准备工作会是怎么样的呢？
接下来就需要在这极短的时间里积极备战下一场比赛。
Well, we don't really have a lot of time, so in this very short time frame, we will be doing our best to prepare for our next opponents and the strategies that's needed.
Yeah, wonderful insights here for YDSS. Thank you so much for your time. We say nice try to Baisha Gaming, and I do hope you guys will now be in favor for your next series. We'll be sending it back to the analyst desk.
Thank you, Salvatore, as always, getting the news, right, from YDSS there for the interview. We appreciate it. Nice to hear from YDSS. Not making a lot of excuses, Lucy. You know, they realized their A side just wasn't working out for them whenever it came down to Eagle Eye, final map number 3. And they realized there's a lot of work still needed. Baisha, they don't want to leave just yet. Again, they realized they just missed out last year. They don't want to miss out again.
Yeah, I don't think they will just yet, but it's going to be a wake-up call, right? Especially, you know, given this opponent you have a lot of comfort again. It's a team you beat very recently on LAN, and yeah, just to come through and not be able to show up the way they expect is going to be quite disappointing. And you could really tell that the Kings Zero have done their homework. You know, we heard that in their interview, right? That there's definitely been a lot of prep work coming into this, knowing that they were going up such a familiar opponent.
Yeah, there's something about this tournament and first seeds losing for some reason, and I feel like it's a lot of these second seeds kind of stepping up to the plate as well. But at the same time, you kind of have to see how Baisha went in that third map, right? It kind of just felt like they were disconnected the entire time, and you know, the usual, you know, I wouldn't say highlighty kind of play from the side of Baisha, but the usual teamwork that we'd like to see from them didn't really click, because just once again, the pressure is just mounting from the side of KZ before they can even set up anything. There's like an XN flank, ISIS somewhere, you know, YF has gotten a pick. The pressure was too much.
Yeah, and the Allianz Vault, brother, welcome in. First and foremost, number 1 seeds have been falling left and right, all right? This has been a reoccurring theme here in the Allianz Vault at EWC 2026. Just the way it goes, it's the highest level of competition. And speaking of which, another competition about to be underway later on this year. It's called CFS 2026. Let's take a look at the venue.
Ultra-realistic voice cloning has arrived. Expand your workflow.
Thank you, Tanya.
Bonjour, konnichiwa. Take control and save time, all while earning passive income. 11 Labs, ethical AI.
Right, thank you, right. Right, KK.
Nhá. Ok.
Ok.
Anh mở đây.
Ok.
Ok, ok. Wow.
Vai tarde.
Bonito, hein? Ok, isso parece bagulho de batata, né?
Parece sobremesa.
É isso, cara, parece salgado.
Mic पे आए जरा mic पे आए.
Ui. Siêu siêu ngon.
Ok.
Ngon cực.
Rồi, con cá vào mới nhiều. Doce? Bom, bom. Doce? Bom, pô. Pô, comer outro, deixa pra gente, mano. É bom. Bom.
Muito bom, mano.
Vizinho bom.
ايه هي بقى؟ معرفش كريم بروليه مثلا حلوه؟ حلوه nó dầu mít rồi nha, xong nó làm nó không biết cái gì nó làm xong rồi chết đó nha. Sao dứt bự vậy? Ngon.
Hello.
Ngon là ngon, nó phát chứ không ngon thật.
That's good. So sweet.
Gian Hal da Pole.
É uma torta então, né?
É como se fosse
Nossa, é tipo sorvete, mano. Que isso, gente? Que isso, galera? Que isso, galera? Você come também, pai. Tem um negócio de milho que é assim, pô.
कौन सी गेम खेलनी है आपने? आ रही है
Muito bom, pô. Vamos mais também. Isso aqui eu nunca comi no Brasil não, velho. Nota 10. Nota 10. Vai comer mais um pouquinho, né?
I give it 7 out of 10. It's good. I like this one.
Ngon thật mà ngon. Anh không đùa, ngon thật. Tôi gặp thấy cái bánh này hợp với tôi. Rất là ngon. Cái đúng.
The human body was built to move, not trapped at a desk in one singular posture for 12 hours a day. It's time your chair evolved. This is Secret Lab Titan Evo. Ergonomically engineered for you, gamers, hybrid workers, artists, backing your every move.
AGAL, one of CrossFire's most consistent and formidable teams. They established their reputation with their discipline, experience, and ironclad mentality. They started their winning streak at EWC last year, where they dominated the competition and lifted the first ever EWC trophy for CrossFire.
当时赢下 EWC 的冠军特别的开心，因为我们刚打完联赛，当时输得特别惨，然后大家调整回来了 ，EWC 刚好证明了自己。
This cemented their title as being the best CrossFire team in the world, and they were just getting started. Following their triumph, they proceeded to win both the CrossFire Stars 2025 World Championship.
And finally, AG will do it, and they get the job done. The champions of CrossFire Stars 2025, all gamers.
And CFPL Season 27.
Man.
当时我们连拿这么多冠军的主要原因，我觉得是大家首先特别的自信，然后状态也特别的好，所以一直打就越来越顺，
मेरा माइक क्यों
所以
बंद
就越
किया?
打越好了，大家。
ये किसने
Those
बंद
victories
किया?
weren't simply
Welcome
championship
everyone.
titles. Those were the foundations of building an infallible era. They were the team to beat.
Me man,
they were the
welcome.
target to hunt, and they were the prime example that even gods can bleed. And bleed they did.
身位也暴露出来，头顶的方向 S 拿下了第6的人头，我们可以恭喜 KZ。
AGAL's performance took a huge dip in the most recent season of CFPL, finishing third place in the group stage and ending their run in playoffs early at the hands of King Zero Esports and Q9 Club.
没有做到，我们可以恭喜清酒。
这部 PS8 我们
पहली बात तो इसके कंप्यूटर में OBS नहीं चलना अगर OBS चल भी पड़ा तो लाइव नहीं चलती
我觉得这次比赛我们肯定比联赛准备的东西会更多一些吧，然后争取这次赢回来。
But this might very well be the beginning of a comeback story. AGAL has shown that they can be undefeated and they can do it again here at EWC 2026.
टैग भी नहीं मिलना टैग भी ऐसे नहीं मिलना टैग के लिए आपको सामने आना पड़ेगा कैमरा लगाना पड़ेगा ठीक है फिर आपका बैकग्राउंड अच्छा होना चाहिए ठीक है उसके बाद जाके आपको टैग मिलेगा
Yeah, this is a team that is hungry to continue proving themselves, and rightfully so, defending champions. Not only that, the CFS champions as well from 2025. I'm excited to see them take the stage.
That's right, a Vitality, who are Western team, the first to beat a Chinese team since 2018, come in with a smile on their face. In fact, he can't even hide it. He tries to, Lucy, but he realizes this is a big moment, and they're willing to capture it.
I mean, how could they not be hyped, right? After the run they've already had, the upset on day one, it's a team that we're all excited about. I mean, Kyle, you pegged them as potentially taking out AGAL here. Like, we didn't get too caught up in the hype, but we're also starting to believe.
That's right, Kadia title defenders AGAL versus the dream run of Vitality. Does it get any better than that? I gotta say, man, this matchup means quite a bit, not only for the Western region, but for Vitality fans as a whole. They're on home ground, and this is their moment to shine for sure. But it is going to be a tall task, right? AGAL is not EP.
No, they're a much tougher opponent, I think, here in Vitality. As strong as they looked yesterday, this is going to be an even harder hurdle to overcome. And I was actually looking at the history books a bit before this one. AG in the last 3 years has actually only lost one best-of-3 series to a non-Chinese team. So this is a big one for them to potentially take down if Vitality can find the way.
Yeah, Vitality, a phenomenal team, and they were hyped up yesterday after taking down Evolution Power Gaming, a team that had bested them just last year, but they stayed together through thick and thin, and it ended up paying off. taking down EP, and now just one series away from moving forward. And when it comes to Vitality,
यार
again,
मैं
they
न्यू
have so
आईडी
much
अपने फेस पे
potential
बना
here,
सकती हूँ
and they have so much momentum and steam.
नहीं
But they would
तुम्हारा
be
एक
remiss
ही
if they
फेस है
didn't understand the challenge that is in front of them.
Oh, no, absolutely. And I think coming into this, even though, you know, they had such a great series yesterday, I don't think maybe they were probably not
एक ही फेस है ना
necessarily
तुम्हारा
expecting it to go
कितने
the
फेस
way
है
they,
तुम्हारा
it did. And I think coming into this, they know that they're the heavy underdog. I don't think they're going to be too upset if they lose, but I think they definitely still want to show some good face. And we saw some really great consistency out of their pieces yesterday too.
Yes, we definitely did. From Slayer himself, a spicy interview with Salvatore, and he's ready to give yet another one.
Another CFPL giant is in the way of the Egyptian Hive. Team Vitality up against AGAL, and I'm joined here by Slayer. Glad to have you here, my friend. You guys have sent Evolution Power in the lower bracket, and now the team is feeling confident up against AG. But this is AGAL, the #1 team. So how confident are you and your teammates that you will be able to take down AGAL?
So first of all, obviously, when we won yesterday, that boosted our confidence, and we like speaking from for the next match. I believe AG is like very good team, and they are like title defender already. It's gonna be a very hard match to play against them, but we will try our best.
Yeah, hopefully we do see the best of Team Vitality later on, and you will be facing up against DO. Without a doubt, the best sniper player currently in this tournament. Can a team like Vitality take him down, and how do you plan on doing so?
I mean, I will just let Snare do his job.
Well, it is going to be indeed an amazing match between Snare and DOO. So I'll leave it to you, Slayer. Do you have anything to say to your opponents or to the Egyptian fans of CROSSFIRE? Leave it all on the floor right now.
I will just say that every match we'll give it our best. That's it.
All right, good luck to Team Vitality and to the rest of your teammates. Guys, it is going to be an amazing series. One team will advance to the playoffs. It's Vitality versus AG. I'm sending it back to the analyst desk.
Thank you, Salvatore, as always, for the great interview. Nice to hear from Slayer, determined to take down AJL.
Yeah, definitely. Slayer having a lights-out performance on map 3, but even he knows, he called it out there, Snare, he is the weapon that has to show up today.
That's right. For AGAL, though, they are coming in as the Qiddiya title defenders. They want to go back-to-back. The question is, can they? Last year, ZQ had a tremendous talking point behind him. This year, let's see what he can do. Salvatore had a chance to sit down with them before the matchup.
It's the battle of the #1s, but who is truly the #1 team here at EWC? We have the Esports World Cup defending champions, AGAL, up against Team Vitality. And for some insights, we have here the captain of AGAL, ZQ. Thank you for blessing us with your presence. You saw Vitality take down Evolution Power. What does this mean for AGAL and your upcoming match, knowing that a team from CFWL can take down CFPL?
ZQ 昨天我们看到了Vitality 战队击败了那个 EP 战队嘛，然后这也就代表一个西方的联赛的一个战队其实也是有实力把中国战队给打下的。那对你们 AGL 而言，这代表什么呢？你们会有什么样的反应呢？
我们也看到了别的赛区
Welcome everyone, follow कर लेना यार जो भी आ रहे हैं
但是
जो भी हैं प्यारी लग रही
可以击败他们
Well, we have indeed seen the tremendous growth in the other regions, and we are witness to just how quickly they've been growing. But we're still confident in our ability to beat them.
I'm feeling the confidence right now here from the captain himself. You are one win away from reaching playoffs, CQ. Who is the team you are looking most forward to face and why?
那你们现在离淘汰赛还差最后一场。那如果你们进淘汰赛的话，你们最希望面对的战队会是谁呢？
我觉得进了淘汰赛，每个对手的实力都特别强，不管面对谁，我们都会全力以赴。
Well, every single team in the playoffs are going to be very strong teams around the world, so it doesn't matter who we're up against. We're just going to make sure that we give it our all.
Well, whoever you are, AG is gunning out for you. And speaking of gunning, a lot of teams are actually wanting to take your spot as the EWC champion. Do you have anything to say that, ZQ, knowing that you guys are defending your title?
确实，其他战队呢也都是把目标放在你们身上，因为你们是卫冕冠军嘛。那你对这一点有什么看法呢？
यार लोग होस्ट ने मैं कर लेता हूँ फॉलो अगर होस्ट नहीं है यार तो नहीं आती है
所有这些战队说的吗？
没有什么想说的。
I don't have much to say. I'll just take them as they come.
Oh, well, we'll be seeing about that as Vitality will be facing up against the defending champions AGAL. Thank you so much for your time. ZQ will be sending it back to the analyst desk.
Nice to hear from team captain ZQ, feeling determined, and he said, we'll just take it as it comes.
Yeah, you know, putting a bit of respect on Vitality as well, who, you know, they demanded that interview yesterday, right? Snake said, you know, put respect on our name, and, well, there you go, you get a little bit.
That's it, AGL, the heavy fan favorite, but not on the desk necessarily, as Kyle believes in Vitality. Let's take a look at our veto process. What maps are we going to be getting between these two excellent teams, Vitality and AGAL? First band coming in is going to be new compound. AGAL says, get that out of here. We don't want it. Vitality, though, says Ankara. That's not our map either. Kyle, what do we get for map 1?
Yeah, Black Widow coming out from All Gamers is a really, really good pick for them. It's one of their strongest maps overall. Not only that, AG getting the best of the bands, I think, as well. Compound, we saw yesterday, their best map against EP, and historically last year as well, how they were able to take Team Liquid out of this event. So, looking at the sub-base pick from Vitality, though, this is one of their strongest maps still allowed to be in the mix.
Yeah, I think the struggle here, right, for Vitality is you have to let one of Ankara or Black Widow, right? That's always going to be a difficulty. But they did have a lot of flexes to where they could have taken this, because Compound, sub-base, Porte, all really good Vitality maps. So the fact they get the sub-base here and the Porte decider, I think they're relatively happy with the veto.
Been watching the western side of things, Kyle, for a long time. What do you think about Vitality chances now that you've seen all 3 maps?
I was really hoping they would have a chance to play this one out on new compound. It's historically their strongest anchor map, but AG has clearly done their homework in the veto, so this is not going to be an easy one, but I still think Vitality can pull it off.
Well, it's never easy to get into the playoffs, and it's not even easy to get into the championship conversation, but it's Vitality. Run going against AGAL, the Qiddiya title defenders. It's time to get this epic matchup started. Let's head to the stage with Hollywood Rob TV and Damascus.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is showtime as we have 2 Titans about to face off, and of course, on one side, the title defenders.
Title defender themselves, AGAL, but against them is a team full of confidence after running the upset yesterday. Vitality looking to equal their rank from last year, and they've got a huge client. But you know what it is, Rob? If you want to be the champion, you got to beat the champion.
If you want to beat a man, you got to beat the man. But of course, as you said, Vitality did take down Evolution Power, and in that interview after with Salvatore, they let it be known that they were feeling extremely confident. I'm not going to repeat exactly what they said, but they were talking some trash. And to me, that is an amazing sign to where your mindset is at going into this match.
Especially when you have to take on the Titans. So this time for our second qualifier match of the day, it is AGAL versus Vitality.
Hey, look, I respect what everyone is saying, and I know that Team Vitality have got some respect on their name now. However, you're going up against AGAL. That is no easy feat, and I think they might get a little bit humbled here in the qualification game.
I mean, it's possible, definitely, but I do have to say, I think, you know, this Vitality lineup, when they are playing at their peak, when they are at their best, they could definitely challenge a team like AG. So let's just see what things look like when we actually do get into the server for, you know, a few rounds at least before we make our opinion noted too hard. I want to see something from Vitality, but historically speaking, you would be right. They haven't had a great record against the CFPL teams. I don't think they've ever actually played against AG either. They've never made it deep enough into a competition to do so. They've typically been dropped by some lesser teams, but a good start there from Slayer. Gets the better of ZY. You see the double sniper setup on the attack here from Vitality, which is a little bit unorthodox, but it's worked so far.
Yeah, it works out brilliantly. Now Do just has to consistently watch for this potential peak. Snake nearly gives him that chance. So it's going to be utility drop forward. Do has a chance to maybe get that trade. Doesn't happen, but that gives info. Okay, sniper's over here. Maybe set up on a deeper angle.
और सरू कैसी जा रही है आपकी blood?
As well, Snare's been tagged and brought down. And this is very patient out of Vitality, and this is more what you come to expect out of West teams.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, in particular, Vitality, although they do like to throw in a change of pace here and there. It looks like Snake's just
didn't
by Do. Maybe a wall bang, maybe a leg shot.
Didn't lagi.
Dropping here as well. AG Starting to bring the numbers back a little bit, and you just see these individual fights all over the map. They're favoring AG across the board. Vitality may find today a little more difficult than they did yesterday.
You can have all the staging in the world, you can have all the map control in the world that you want, but ultimately when you're going in one by one, it just looks like AGAL are just overwhelming them. Nice shot at the end for Do. And 1-2-2-2 does brilliantly to hold his nerve and his spray in that close quarters angle. Very clean, and unfortunately for Vitality in that one, it was just a case of being too individualistic.
Yeah, I think one of the big talking points here again today for Vitality is going to have to be what can Snare do. He's got that TRG in hand. You do sort of typically see Slayer sliding through with a secondary sniper as well, but big important player is Snare, I think, for this Vitality team. As they try to pick the pace up over towards the box room a little early on in the piece. There's aggression out in mid as well from 1-2-2-2. That's where Snare's gone down. Horus dropping as well now. AG are kind of doing this on cruise control. Vitality really not challenging them. This is a conversation that we had even just you and I before we went live, and you were saying, I don't know if today's going to be the day for Vitality. And I said, you know, they're a pretty good team. That was their day yesterday. They were on yesterday, but can they back it up? Can they do it twice in a row? And so far the answer is no.
It always scares me when people say, oh, well, on their day, they can be great. If you want to be one of the best teams in the world, not just in CROSSFIRE, but just in general, you have to be consistent. And consistency breeds consistency, which then breeds results, and then you can start having these conversations. And sure, we're only 2 rounds into the best of 3, for goodness sake. Like, there's every which way that Vitality can rebuild into this, but currently what I've seen so far is good little bait and switches from AGAL. Also individually, they're looking a lot stronger than Vitality out the gate, and you know that floor is going to be maintained. It's just whether the ceiling can then be expanded more, but the fact that they have got that floor just speaks to the level of AGAL. And Vitality have got to pull out all the stops here, and then potentially even more to have a chance at making it through the first time to the playoffs.
Yeah, and another thing to sort of touch on there was obviously the ease in which AGAL went through their match yesterday against Q9, and Q9 are not exactly pushovers in any sense of the word. Evolution Power obviously dropping to Vitality. That's a pretty significant scalp, I have to say. Evolution Power, with at least the core of this roster, was a world champion a couple of years ago back in CFS, and they've always sort of been in and around the top level of the competition. You know, EWC last year they made top 4, only dropping to AGAL, actually, the eventual winner, so they could have potentially made it all the way to the grand final had they been on the other side of the bracket too. So that is a good scalp for Vitality to be taking, but it's always sort of one thing to look at a team like Evolution Power and say, okay, we can beat them, but AG, I always hold AG and Baisha in a bit of a higher regard than the rest of the CFPL teams, just because of the legacy, I guess, that they've built themselves at these international events for a little while. It really was just
बिल्कुल भी नहीं जाना ते डीपी दे भी खास और डीपी दे
basically was going to win the
ते
tournament.
वास्ते बिल्कुल भी नहीं जाना एज जेडी लिखी होती है ना तीनों शामा.
Now maybe that's starting to change up a little bit. Vitality, though,
एज के डीपी दे तीनों शामा देखनी है पहले इग्नोर कर देनी है अंदरों कुछ भी निकल सकता है.
To see how they do end up going today, and it will be a good litmus test for whether or not
PUBG चल भी उधर भाई
they can be considered a strong contender for this tournament.
And I suppose that this year as well, you've got domestic success coming through from Vitality, and AGAL have not been the best domestically. To be fair, Slayer will find the opener. Snare has a chance, but at least there's a trade out of Slayer. So player advantage still maintained here by Vitality as they just up the pressure through middle and are able to make it a 4-on-3. AJL, look at the pivot. Every single player resets and it is now in closer proximity to each other. That's a crazy shot out of Zai.
Being able to bring it back to a 3-on-3 is pretty significant, actually. ZY will drop, though, at the hands of Slayer as he tries to cross back onto that side. It's surprising still that Vitality want to go in this direction. There's more players over towards A, and you just see that raw firepower on display from Jue. Slayer now with the job of retrieving that C4 from the bottom of long, and he's got time to do it with. Against 2 legends in the name of Jue and ZQ, so that's going to be a tough ask. Smoke there might obscure his vision as he tries to walk his way forward, and so AG will claim 3. that round was looking better for Vitality, but then the individuals just stepping up for AG, pull it back.
Yeah, then Jouet happened, unfortunately. That's a crazy second shot over towards long. Can't even call it a spray transfer, it was just instantaneous deletion. Look at this. I mean, what can you do about that? Not a whole lot. That's why he is a legend. And he wanted a little bit more. Instead of going to set up ZY on the secondary sniper. The good news for Vitality is that it feels like every round has been somewhat competitive. Like they are knocking on the door. In that one, they just get undone by Jouet, who's now living on a prayer in round 4. But prior to that, it's been all right. It's been fine.
भाई वास्ते डीपी दे उस तो बाद उमर इतना क्षमा करता हूँ
looks of things, but just not being able to find the entries cleanly enough just yet. 2 eventually will be brought down. CY here in the window, pretty routine shot onto Horus. Snake is trying to hold on to short for the moment, and Vitality still sort of struggling to get this bomb in onto the side.
यार इतने ज़्यादा सही नहीं है, इतने ही चल रहा है.
That's given ZY a little bit of room to work up behind the boxes. There's a staircase close for him to play with here as well, and he might actually still be able to catch another one. Vitality are very indecisive right now, and they're just giving too much room to AG to start to pull these kills back. Good trade through there from Slayer.
That was nice. They just grouped together to actually get a double swing, and that means the bomb can be put forward. Now chucked over towards Snare, but dealt with immediately. 2 versus 2, trying to isolate these kills. ZQ knows that Totsin's over at long, but where's this last player in Slayer? Traded by 1-2-2-2, and AGAL cannot put a foot wrong.
Yeah, this is a really, really big problem now for Vitality. They're getting themselves in good positions pretty consistently, right? They're finding 3-on-4s, they're finding some semblance of control on these sites, but they're not really actually putting any real significant pressure on AG. They're not getting the plant down early enough. They're not putting this into a position that it feels like they're going to win these rounds. I mean, they're good spots, but they're not converting on them. They're not executing on them, and that's where I'm going to really start to get a little bit worried that if Vitality lose another round or 2 here, this game is going to slip away. AG are going to get too much momentum, and Vitality are just not going to have the answer. And you see these days every now and then from Vitality. I mean, 0-4 for Snare. He was absolutely frying yesterday. Horus had a great start to the series. He's 1-4 now. Snake is 0-4. Totsen's 1-4. They're not fragging. They're not on the board, and that's a really bad sign for Vitality. 4 rounds, 5 rounds into the game.
Look at the adjustment for AJL into this one as well. They've taken all of the space outside B. They're now looking to crunch over towards middle. They're really restricting what Vitality can do. And that was the same conversation piece in the previous round. Sure, they scaled up towards the bomb site on A, did Vitality, but it was just so much pressure being applied here by GR. I mean, the fact that they just have 2 players there, and then they push the flank, they isolate those fights, they make every single one so unfair. That's how good AGAL are. In comes the swing out of Snake, and to be fair, he's given good space. Dude, now set up, you'd assume for success, but they don't actually peek around the corner. They don't go into the sniper, they back out.
Yeah, just trying to sort of toy with the rotations here of AG, but this is a very disciplined squad. You can see that push has come out from ZQ at the box room, cleared out basically the entirety of the B side of the map. So 1-2-2-2, he's going to set up at the mid doors, and he's going to be reinforced here by ZQ. You would not typically have a couple of players here. If Vitality work their way through, they should be losing a player or 2, and 1-2-2-2 will punish Snake for that mishap. Gets back out okay as well, and Snare very nearly gives up his life as well. AG are just out-thinking and out-gunning Vitality right now.
Yeah, this is really nice, and that Jouet steps in as well from a different angle. 1-2-2-2 will eventually fall, but he's done enough, and you've then baited ZQ in. ZY, Jouet will then find kills as well, and it's just getting really difficult. Vitality call the timeout before the round's even over, but then it gets locked in by AG. 5-0, and a 5-star performance on Black Widow so far.
Yeah, this is a very, very poor start from Vitality. I think, you know, you probably could have even seen that tack timeout called in the previous round before this round actually started. They're just not looking like they're in the server at the moment. It's not the same Vitality that we saw yesterday, and this has been, frankly, a bit of a recurring theme for them throughout their tenure as an international lineup. They were 3BL, and then they were Rock, and then they were Vitality, and they haven't really made any significant roster changes in that 2-year period. But when we first saw them kind of burst onto the scene, that was the CFS Summer Championships back in 2024, if I remember correctly. You know, they managed to make top 4 at that event, then they went over to the finals, and we thought, okay, brilliant, this is a team that, you know, maybe can contest, and they made top 8 there, and we thought, okay, they're really on the rise. And then it's kind of just sort of stagnated at that point where they've been a contender, but they've never really been able to step up any further than that. And you know, I don't know if you watched that power ranking video that we did, you know, on the media day, and I sort of, you know, I said I don't think this is a team that's necessarily going to be a super strong contender. I put them in B. They're not a bad team, and on their day they can really contest some of these top dogs, but the problem is that they really do only have like 1 or 2 of those good games in them for any given tournament, and sometimes that's not enough. You're going to need to have 4 or 5 really good games in a row against really good teams if you want to win something like EWC. And so already we've seen one great game from them yesterday against Evolution Power, but where are they today against AG? That's not good enough, unfortunately, for Vitality. They need to get that consistency going.
Look, it's always going to be a tough task against AGAL. But that to me sounds like almost like a sports psychologist issue.
Yeah,
thing.
Maybe.
It does feel like a mentality that is plaguing Vitality, even if they know it or not. I mean, ZY gets another opening, and this time the opening kills aren't even going in favor of Vitality. And what can you do against the up-down setup? Like, this is so tricky to maintain. And now you've got players for Vitality pushing, feeling like they need to make the difference. They need to be the guy that has the play to wrestle the round back, and that's only going to just trickle over and just pour into more failure and just difficulty for Vitality. This is getting tricky now.
And unfortunately, you're going to start to get in your own head as well, because this is looking easier and easier for AG as we go on. ZY just chilling for the moment, tucked underneath the windows, hoping for that swing to come through in his direction. He will get it in the end. Horus and Snake are putting this round together. Somehow a 2v5 potentially on offer, but they will have to get through Do. He's cleaned up one with the grenade. Now into that 1v1. 100 HP for Do. Snake on him here. 23, but it'll be enough. Do completely caught off guard. A 2 HP clutch and a miracle round for Vitality to get them back in this game. That should not have gone their way in any stretch of the imagination, but